top of the ship, our boy Tobias, the smugglers, immediately they hand these dumbass guys bags of leaves, dried leaves, and Tobias is like, is this our rations? And he's like, I guess this is it. I guess this is what smugglers survive off of, dried fucking leaves. And he's like, if this is my only sustenance, I better start eating. And immediately, as the reader, you're like, those are drugs. Those are drug leaves. And Raphael's like, oh, shit. And he literally like smacks it out of Tobias's hand, who has just been again, this man, who we're supposed to be told is a relatively smart individual, not the dumbest boy in school, is handed a bag of dried leaves, okay? And he just starts eating them like, guess these are rations for horses. Nay, bitch, I'm a horse. And just... starts eating them.
Okay, we're back. We did it. This is your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension. I'm William. This is my co-host.
The lovely Maria is how you're supposed to introduce me, you son of a bitch.
This is a highly anticipated episode because this is, finally, the third book of Jenna Moreci's Savior series, The Savior's Army. Now, a little background.
Context.
8 years ago, I read The Savior's Champion, and I thought, this book is real bad. And I was like, but it was fun to hate on. And then when we started a podcast, I was like, I should make my friends suffer and read it too. So we read The Savior's Champion and The Savior's Sister, the sequel. And most of you already know this because most of you are here from those two videos. And for 4 years, our roasting of those two books formed like the bedrock of our channel. Like a lot of our original viewers came from that.
We're monetized after The Savior's Sister came out. It propelled us to enough subscribers that we were finally monetized. Like the channel, as much as we ever took off because of those two videos.
Only in the last year have other videos overtaken it on a monthly basis for views, and those are pretty much The Shadow, The Conqueror, and a few others, which are painful. So this book holds a special place in our heart. Now, Jenna Moreci, for those who don't know, the author of this, is a booktuber. AuthorTube, yes. She used to do a lot of like 10 tips about writing, 10 tips about characters, to write characters likable, that kind of a thing. And that's, kind of her background. We'll talk a little bit more about her. But this is her dark fantasy series. And Maria, would you like to give the basic premise of the first two books and where we are in this one?
We are in Thesson. 'Tis a kingdom in a vaguely Mediterranean setting that is weirdly very close to the equivalent of Norway and or Russia, depending on how you read one. The geography ain't geographizing. But anyway, Thesson is a kingdom that is ruled by the Savior, who is a goddess queen. She's a lady of power who blesses the land. Previously, Thesson was trash. It was a desert, plague, lots of shit happening. Then the Savior appeared. She blessed the land with her power, and since then, every time the Savior is time for her to get married, there is the Savior's tournament. The Savior's tournament, and it's like a big cultural touchstone where like 30 men enter and over 30 days, like it's basically death competition, and that's book one.
It's the Bachelorette but death competition style.
The first book is told from the point of view of Tobias, who is an unwitting sad piece of toast who enters the tournament. Little Easter egg for those who watched those previous videos, who entered the tournament to support his ailing twin sister and his mother who needed money, and he was like, this is how I shall lift us from poverty. And he ends up falling in love with the healer, who, Sacre Bleu, is actually the Savior in disguise. She was hiding herself so she could see the character of the men who were falling in love with her, but also on top of that, the Savior is being eclipsed by her father, who is the previous sovereign, the guy who married her mother, but he's a bastard. He's trying to kill her. He's been trying to kill her since she was young. I don't know how he managed not to kill a baby and or a child the whole time. Real weird. But anyway, it is all culminated in this. Brontes is here to kill her, and he's using the Sovereign's tournament to implant guys to kill her. She knows this. We don't know any of this in the first book. The first book is entirely from Tobias's point of view and him going through all the dumb death trial stuff, getting to know Layla, the healer that he thinks is just a healer, discovering at the end that actually she is the sovereign, the savior, getting all butthurt about it, and them like falling in love. Book 2 is from Layla's point of view, where you see all the political stuff from her that she's been going through, with Brontes openly trying to kill her, dealing with senators that she has to murder terribly, the things she's had to deal with her whole life, and the plot unfolding while getting to know Tobias. And so you see a lot of the same scenes, getting to know Tobias, falling in love with him, hiding her identity as the true savior. And then at the end, when all of the assassins that her father put in to kill her get killed, her and Tobias decide to run away together and escape. And also Brontes is trying to use Cessin. He wants to kill the savior, and then he wants to do a Hackin empire and take over all of the allied countries that are just called the allied countries around Thessin, and do, like I said, Heckin Empire Brontes for life. And so that's where those two books kind of end. And she needs an army. She needs to take down Brontes and keep him from his conquering ways and to free Thessin. And that's where this book begins. And the first two books, Will and I thoroughly tore into. Somehow the second book made the first book look better.
And somehow this third book is going to make the first one look even better.
I missed the first book even more this time than I did reading that. Like, the second book was not good, and was wildly, Moreci was trying to punch outside of her like skill level and trying to write like a political thriller. And this book, if I may give you an inkling, this book suffers from being almost too simplistic, and it is a lot of point A to point B to point C, and a plot so simple, but with so many dumb convoluted things thrown in that it boggles the mind. My mind, she doth boggle.
So here's the thing. This book is really bad. It is bad on a prose level in a way the first book wasn't, and it is as bad and complicated as the second book. It is intensely incompetent in a way that is really striking. It really feels like Moreci is done with this series and is not interested in writing it, but has to for money.
That's what I said. It's joyless. This book felt joyless. The first book, I felt like Mama was writing what she wanted to read. She was writing her death competition, smutty boyfriend, you know? That's what was happening. And now she's like trapped in this world, gun to her head, having to write it. And I'm like, put it down.
It feels exactly like that. It feels like she's really stuck here and she didn't want to write this. In general, you know, I was rewatching our videos on the first series as we were going, as today, because I was doing some other stuff. And there is so many complex reasons the first two books are bad. I think this one suffers from a few key problems I'll go over. First of all, the prose are remarkably incompetent. She shows a mastery of language that you usually get from like people who barely speak English. It is weird how much she does not understand how connotations of words are. This was a problem back in Savior's Champion, but I think here she let herself strive higher in her prose and descriptions, and I was just constantly bookmarking things that were like, this is not the correct connotation for this word, and we'll go through that. And yeah, me and Maria, if you're wondering, how did you get through this book so fast? It just released. We read an ARC copy, and that's so much worse than listening to it. Oh my God, is it worse?
I had to spend so much time just devoted to this book. Normally with an audiobook, I can like do others. I can clean, I can cook, I can walk, I can listen to it on my walks. No, I had to just sit and look at this with mine eyeballs. Ugh!
The other main problems are that Jenna has no real theory of mind. Okay, so actually, before I get into this, I'm going to sound like I'm being remarkably unkind to Moreci in this review. And the problem is that I am just drawing upon what I know from having read this text. Okay, I don't really know her outside of the text. I have heard some very credible things that say that she's not a particularly good person in real life, but I don't really know per se. But as the author construct that I am dealing with, I'm going to be saying a lot of kind of terrible things about her writing quality and ability. And because I think a lot of the problems with the book stem from her inability to write well. So if you're a fan of hers, maybe understand that you can dislike things, but and click off of this video.
Now, what I will say is I read some of the Goodreads reviews, and there was a lot of people who liked the first book, held through on the second book, and did not like this book. Even for people who enjoyed the other ones, this one is a dip in quality. People are pointing out obvious logical issues with it. So, like, if you liked it, my sweet summer child, this might not be, as I said in the beginning of our Save Your Sister video, this might not be for you. You don't have to watch it. We'll understand. And also, we're allowed to not like things. And this is one of those where we knew going into it we weren't going to like it. We very rarely do that anymore. Like we said at the end of Iron Storm, Onyx, the third Yaros, I basically said we're done. I'm not reading the fourth one. I cannot, and also at that point,
we never read more of the Akatar series after 4.
The third.
Because at a certain point, you run out of criticisms that are new. You know you're going to dislike the thing. Why are you going into it? In this case, it's because, again, so much of our channel was built off of it. I am curious about it. And there's a kind of a prior attachment we have to the series in terms of reading it.
And the thing is, we're allowed to not like it. And I find the problems identified in the first book, then in the second book, have just gotten worse. And if you don't want to hear that, fly free.
Also, if you are like, we don't want to hear that, but oh God, you guys just criticize books? No, we have a playlist called Yes, We Like Books. It will be the pinned comment here. There's quite a lot of very good books on there.
Find a new favorite book. Lots of people have.
If you have read and enjoyed The Savior's Champion, perhaps check out some Jacqueline Carey. Kushiel's Dart also is a bit of a dark fantasy romance vibe. You may enjoy that. Okay, back to the problems with this book. So core problems, there's prose, Moreci doesn't really have a theory of mind, which is that other people have a brain that they think about things differently than you do. That's a consistent problem, both in the way that she will have characters who are completely unnuanced and not really working in their both interests, or she will just have them murdered in brutal ways that aren't earned. Like there's a bunch of soldiers who theoretically are just like Thessian soldiers who just joined up to the military that the savior was supposed to have, who Layla will kill brutally and not feel any guilt over at all. And it also shows up in that Moreci is remarkably bad at figuring out where the reader is and what their reaction to something happening in the text is. So this kind of leads into the other problem, which is that often the book will have a moment or a discussion, like Layla's going to do a thing and somebody says, no, that's not going to work because this, that, and the other. And it's fascinating how there's an entire, like, you're like, no, you're wrong. There's another reason not to do this that nobody's talking about that's incredibly obvious. And Moreci just completely ignores it because I just don't think she saw it or noticed it. And it happens a lot. The main emotional crux of this book will rest on such a thing. And you could call them plot holes, but that almost has too much of a cinema sins thing. I think Moreci just doesn't know where the reader is and how they're feeling.
Almost like working with blinders on, where in a particular scene, just writing the beats that she's plotted out. I didn't know this. Will mentioned that she's a plotter. She like plans everything out beforehand. And what it feels like is we hit a plot beat. There's the way it's supposed to go, and there's not a moment of looking at it without the blinders of what the scene is supposed to going and seeing, actually what are the other things that could happen or like inform the scene. And because there are multiple points where you're like, guys, there's an obvious solution. Like you're just screaming into the book that there's a very obvious solution that would fix everything happening. There was even a point where there's a thing that's going to be teased throughout the book. And I was like, eventually I got to the point, I was like, oh, okay, I think this is why they did this action. And it ended up being that the thing that I theorized for them why this thing happened ended up making way more sense than how we end up there initially. And I'm not saying I'm like the smartest girl in school. I was just reading a book and doing the thing you do when you're like, oh, I bet this is why, like, and when I tell you the actual reason, so much worse and convoluted and silly. And there's so many logical things like that where you can tell the scene was like the blinders were on and like just staying in the pocket of how the scene is supposed to work with no Will's completely correct. No understanding of how a reader is going to interact with it, how a reader is going to look at it, and what someone who is not shackled to the plot that's been laid out is going to read it.
And her attachment to the characters. And so those are like the core problems with the book. Again, we're going to talk about more problems, and these problems are multifaceted. So there's going to be lots of different ways, but those are like the main problems going in. I think Jenna really lucked out in the first book in that that was a very constrained story. And back then she probably listened to criticism more, because I know for a fact from several of the people who were beta readers on this, they would ask her a question about why something is happening in the book, and she would like jot out an answer. But it's like, if that's not in the book, then you need to incorporate that. That means you beta readers are getting lost, and you need to incorporate that into a book. A great example of this: Thesson, theoretically speaking, worships a god, right? But you don't actually know this except for one line at the beginning of the first book and like 2 lines a third of the way into, or 2/3 of the way into this book. Other people say God a lot, but people also say like multitasking in this book. Like it is not, and it's a kind of anachronistic in its language.
They also say a military state.
Yeah, they're constantly being anachronistic, so you don't think it's necessarily an in-universe thing when they say God. Jenna will complain about the fact that you can't handhold readers and talk to them through these things, and like that is something that I'm sure beta readers came up to her and said that what's going on with the God thing in this. She didn't put that into the novel. Another example is that early in the book, there's a character who we're supposed to be suspicious of because of something that happened to Savior's sister. But Savior's sister came out like 5 or 6 years ago. There is no way I remembered what happened there, and the book doesn't catch you up on it.
The thing is, anytime you have a sequel, there is supposed to be times where the book catches you up on stuff, repeats things, and also the crime of not going into the religion of Thesson would be way less of an issue if our main character was not half of our main characters was not a religious fucking figure. Again, goddess, queen. She is a holy, like she's literally considered part of the religion. And so you mean to tell me that you can't tell us any, like, I don't know, is this a, like, are we talking like Christianity adjacent? Are we talking like a potential pantheon with one main god, or like anything? Do they go to a temple? Do they leave sacrifices out? Are they leaving bowls of milk for God? Like nothing. When I tell you, and that's part of the problem, is this world is so devoid of color, culture, and life. There is no verve to it, and there are points where like she gives it a little bit to other cultures. Like there's just one particular scene I'm thinking of where there actually is some time devoted to a cultural interaction that happens, and it puts such a stark contrast to that the rest of the series and book has nothing to it as far as a culture of Thesson, to the point that like I was just shocked to learn that one of the main character, like not one of the main characters, but one of the cast in the first book and who comes up in this book is actually Asian, even though this is supposed to be a sword and sandal, like Greek inspired Mediterranean world. And I'm like, did they, and this is an old aristocratic family, which means they've been here for donkey's years. Did they just come from Asia? Like, or your Asia analog? Like, how did they get here? Why are you can't? And it made me remember that there is a character who's in the second book whose name literally means daughter in Japanese, who I can only assume is also Asian. And like, is this a world where like it was Thesson, a trade world, and so people from all over came and built themselves up here before the great desertification and plague? But like, did they come after and they've just been here for generations, and Thesson doesn't have like like the classic idea of like if you're just a citizen, you're a citizen. Exactly.
Yeah, it is not addressed by the book. It is just kind of a thing that is tossed in there.
Oh, tone. This book is a tonal mess.
Yes.
This book is, when I tell you, you have characters where something terrible is happening, and then 2 minutes later it's tee hee hee hoo 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 ha ha ha, like silly stuff or sexy stuff. and you and the reader are like, whatcha, what's like just getting smacked all over the place with like what's happening. And I'm gonna paint you a scene. Like, you're on like a smuggler ship where slaves have to get put in the bottom, and three characters get put, they're pretend slaves getting smuggled to another country, and they have to literally for 2 days stay in the hold of a ship by themselves, starving, well, the other two of the party up there. And one of the characters is like, tee hee hee, this will be a good chance to get into my slash fantasies and pair these two gay men and make them fall in love, and then I'll use that to distract myself. You think I'm joking? You think I'm fucking joking? No. This character literally goes, I will distract myself by watching their love blossom. Bitch, what are you talking about?
The tonal whiplash, again, goes back to Moreci's not understanding the reader or having a theory of mind. She does not know where the reader is. Usually, we actually go easy on books we roast because we listen to them. So we don't take quotes as we go. This book, I took quotes and highlights, and Maria did as well. So we'll be tracking those as we go through the plot. So we will be specific in our criticisms in a way that we are not usually. Okay. I thought it would be funny to do the joke where I read you the first line and then immediately complained about it, but let's actually go into the plot a little bit before I complain about how the first line of this book is a major problem that's real stupid.
I'll complain about stuff on page 2. So
we start with Tobias and Layla and his mom and sister, and they're camping in the forest, a la Harry Potter Book 7. And they have just escaped, and they're talking about how they need an army. Put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to it. I mostly just don't want to rant for 20 minutes before we really get into the plot. Also, we have a Patreon. You should join. Support independent journalism. Layla is feeling kind of like, she's back to being kind of like little girl scared, which is how she is for a lot of this novel. Or she is sometimes. Yukana, Tobias's mom, does not like Layla because she got her son into like fighting and killing. There's going to be, for the first half of this book, there's going to be a lot about how Tobias now has anger issues because he's been like fighting and killing so much, and there's like a darkness within him, and he remembers this roar of the crowd in a way that feels ham-fisted. That's kind of the overall situation. Tobias, he jumps into town because remember he can teleport. That is actually should have just been a fifth column of what the problems with this book are, is that there's instant teleportation.
Shadow walking.
Jenna screwed herself so hard by not limiting the fact that Layla has magic that she can give to other people where they can instantaneously transport from where they are now to any place that they have been.
And they can take a slew of people with them. 40 people.
Up to 40.
Up to 40 confirmed. And when I tell you the plot holes and logical inconsistencies that this rips through, and it's gonna feel, and somebody made this comment on one of our other videos. Somebody said, oh, this is cinema sins for books, and then somebody else commented and went, don't insult them like that. And it's just, and I feel a bit like that because there are so many points when I'm like, but this would have like, and the shadow walking solves 90% of the problems in this book.
The problem is when you have such a basic plot hole constantly, it saps any real tension from the book because it doesn't really matter. This could be solved and none of the characters are arguing about how to solve it with it. So you just get frustrated as the reader. Anyway, right now Tobias uses it to jump back into town, and we see that the Sovereign says that Tobias has kidnapped Layla, and he is now a fugitive, and Tobias has feelings about it.
Immediately I'm pissed off because they know there was a scene where Layla was telling Tobias, his mother, his sister, her whole life story. She deluged upon them. And they know, they all know they're fugitives. Layla's a fugitive. He's a fugitive. And then he goes into town, and then Brontes makes up a lie, making him the only fugitive. And when I tell you Tobias is so fucking butthurt about being a fugitive, a thing we acknowledged 2 pages. Like, were you expecting Brontes, the evil guy who was trying to kill his daughter, murder an entire nation, and take over other nations, to be nice and to be like, yo, the artist and my daughter ran off because I'm an evil bastard? Like, when I tell you the level of, like, he's shocked, he's gobsmacked, he's depressed, and you're like, buddy, nothing about your situation
is surprising.
Yeah, it's not like this news now makes him more in danger than he was before. Because that makes a difference. And it's just so dumb. It's so dumb, and I hate it. And again, this is a perfect example of what Will was saying, where Layla has done or not Layla, excuse me, Moreci has done a thing and not accounted for how the reader is going to interact with this thing at all. It is literally, when I tell you, pages apart of them acknowledging they're fugitives, him finding out he has been labeled a fugitive, and being butthurt about it.
And also, we lied. This is not actually the beginning of the book. The beginning of the book is there's two separate timelines in the book. There's the main timeline, and then there's the future timeline.
Oh, yeah.
Where Tobias has been caught by Brontes and is being brutally tortured for pages and pages and pages, with the idea that he's like, oh, you're not going to kill me, Brontes, because you want to know where Layla is, and I can tell you. And he's just going to be tortured a lot. And we'll talk about how stupid it is, and kind of stupid super is.
Super.
We're going to run into problems explaining just how dumb this book is, guys, in terms of vocabulary. Here is a good example of the ways that the book doesn't know what it's doing at all. This is how the book starts. You need an army? Yes, Layla swallowed, or else Brontes ravages our allies, and Thesson is left to rot. The campfire crackled, blah, 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 blah. The sovereign is going to colonize the other realms, he muttered, starting with Kavar. Here is a question, and this is actually a very common mistake that people make in the military, which is that they don't have a clear objective. Now, if you were watching this when this originally comes out, there are some current military events that make you go, oh, wow, some people really don't question what the objective is and how the military is actually good at, if it can achieve this objective. So bear in mind that Layla could shadow walk and kill Brontes. That is, for some reason, not a thing they say she can do, but she can do this. Like, it's very easy.
And she can also find 10, they have a lot of money, okay? Tobias has oodles and caboodles of gold from his earnings from the Sovereign's tournament. He can literally pay, they could get 10 crack assassins, plus Layla.
She is also the queen who has who's magically verifiable because she glows with light.
They could pop into Brontes's room in the middle of the night and just kill him. Because she's been to his bedroom. She knows where his bedroom is. You take you and your 10 assassins that you bought with the money, and you just, boom, go in. But no, well, what is their plan? Go, hit me with it.
Their plan is that they need an army so that they can lay siege to the castle. And the question is, what the fuck do you actually need this army for? What is it going to do? It's like Moreci knows that, like, she wants a big battle at some point, but this army is extraneous to showing up and killing Brontes, who is the only person who has any power. He has spent 20 years making himself the sole, taking out his rivals and anyone who is independent from him. He is the only person who can run this country, and Layla, if she kills him, that's it. They've won. They're done.
And part of it is he has because he married the previous savior, he has a political reason to have that power. There's no one else. It's not like there's the sovereign son waiting in the wings to take up. There is no one. If he's not dead, it's just Layla.
The other thing is, why do you need an army if you could reveal yourself to your people, create a popular uprising, and go to the town? I'm sure not every Thessian soldier is corrupted by Brontes in the entire nation and are going to withstand seeing their living god show up and be like, I need you, Uncle Sam style.
I had this question because Will started it before I did. And I remember he and Elon came to visit and we were kind of talking about it. And I was like, why are they, like, they're not just going, because I thought we were going to go town to town and she was going to be like, it's me, your savior, bling, bling, sparkle, sparkle, bitches. And be like, Brontes is going to tell you lies. Here's Tobias. We're engaged. We'll talk about that. He is not a terrible shithead who kidnapped me. I am free of my own volition. And here I am. And again, she can evade capture at any moment. Because again, poof, instantaneous teleportation. Okay? You just go in. You tell the people your story and you say, I need you. Any able-bodied man, woman, person, come join us and let us know where red and or like whatever the case is, and we will give you instructions. Because listen, there's a lot of points where this book is going to be like, man, the common people could recognize. Maybe could recognize Tobias. Or like, there's going to be multiple points where Moreci's like, oh, this random village in the middle of nowhere, Thesson knows who can identify the intellect, can identify the artist on sight like they were passing around, like there's billboards or the internet that
Yeah, the
shows people's
internet.
faces. But Layla has the ability to be immediately identifiable because, again, everybody knows bitch sparkles in sunlight, and she has magic powers, both which she can identify. And all you have to do, because again, Brontes is going around being like, all the artists, he kidnapped Layla, he's holding her hostage, he wants to ruin Thesson. And you just have her pop up and be like, nope, we're fine. See us, best buds, kiss, kiss, smoochy, smoochy, sparkle, sparkle.
Not to mention, this is the way that legitimacy is created in the realm. This is a tradition that the savior gets a new boyfriend, and he publicly won the tournament, and they can make out now. Like, there is no reason that they need an army. It is Jenna just kind of having decided that that's what they're gonna do. And again, there's no like, no one argues that they should try these things. Like, this book should start with her and Tobias trying to kill Brontes in his chambers, and they find out that no, Brontes has escaped because he set a trap for them or something like that.
And he's gone to an unknown location that she can't get to and nobody's gone to, and now they have to go from there, you know, instead of just living in his castle, whoop-de-doo.
Or like, why don't they start a popular uprising? Like, again, that part is never, nobody even brings it up because it would be stupid to not do that versus find a foreign army. And it's like, yeah, okay, as a ruler, what you really want to do is go find a foreign army and then invade your own country. Yep. That is going to enamor people to you.
And bring war to your own fields, my guy. And the other thing that I don't know if we've, again, if you've watched our other videos, you know this, but in case you're just like, I'm starting here, babes, the savior is literally tied to the success and health of the land. I'm talking without the savior, plague. Without the savior, desert. No crops growing, no nothing.
And it's not plague in the sense of like a sickness. No, you just get sick for living in Thesson if the savior's not around. It's like a weird thing that just starts popping up.
And she has to like lay on the grass and like bless it, and it keeps all this shit from not happening. So number one, and this was something I brought up in book 1 or in book 2, why would you kill the person that makes your land prosperous? Brontes is like, instead of like trapping her, we had a whole Mother Gothel thing we talked about. Like, you kill her, you are suddenly the ruler of Shitsville, you know, Plaguesville. Your army's going to be decimated.
I mean, Brontes is a theory of mind thing where his actions don't make sense. They don't make any sense at all. And it's so...
And it's literally, you're right, Will, it's the plotting thing, because A needs to happen, or B needs to happen, so A is the excuse for B to happen, and it's just half-baked. Because again, everybody knows the savior's the reason they get the crappies. They are the reason they're healthy. If the savior shows up and is like, I need you. My father murdered my mother and has been trying to kill me my whole life. Somehow didn't succeed when I was a baby for some reason. Weird move, bro. And now is trying to start an all-out war, and he wants to, you need to, they'd be like, absolutely, you are our literal religious icon in living flesh who saves us. And the thing is, there's even points where people are like, yeah, we know that Brontes is a fucking liar. Fuck, we
There's a lot of points because Jenna cannot handle people disliking her characters. So all the common people are like, ugh, Brontes.
Yeah.
Which, again, begs the question of where's Brontes getting his soldiers from that are such brutal people that Layla feels no compunction about killing?
Killing them? Yeah, because we're told he has 2 armed forces. The army of Thesson, and then hired mercenaries that he has, like sellswords, that he has found in enough numbers to be a concerning force, even though the nation to the north is a literal warrior nation.
I'm going to try not to go full, how does he feed a massive army when they're not doing anything on this? Because it's not something most writers of fantasy understand, the logistics. But it's also completely impossible that he is paying these people just to sit around for this long of a period and have a standing army. Because the amount of soldiers Brontes has in this book is like a modern police state. It's real crazy.
It's going to get crazier when we talk about Tragolia and whatever the fuck happens there. So yeah, the beginning, as we said, baby boy's butthurt because he's a fugitive, and they're like, wow, we have to get a plan. What's our plan gonna be? We don't know. And then while they're like escaping, Raphael, the intellect from book one, shows up, and he's like, hey, and there's this whole thing that I completely forgot about where he blackmailed Layla into getting him out of the tournament. And they're like, oh my God, when I tell you all the characters react to Raphael like he is the scum of the earth, and I'm like, nah, bitch, I would have gotten out of that tournament. Like, what are we talking about? He didn't actually hurt her and he kept his mouth shut. But anyway, he feels guilty about betraying the savior, and he's here to help them out. And he used his intellect to figure out where they went and that they would be in the Creos woods. And if he figured it out, Brontes can't be far behind. So they have to figure out a plan and get shit together. And they're thinking, and they're like, why don't we go to Kavar, which is that warrior nation state that the queen was sympathetic to and didn't like Brontes. Let's go there and get an army. And they're like, no, the path is too treacherous. And then he's our main guys, or Raphael is like, let's go to Trigolia. Their borders are super lax, and then we can get to Kavar through there. It's an easier journey. That's what we should do. And they're like, no, we can't do that because of, and I forgot at this point why they say no to that, but they like, and it's going to piss you off because that's exactly what they end up doing at a later point in the book, and it's just super dumb. So the plan that they hatch, that comes from our boy Tobias.
The way this comes up is like Tobias is like, and there was only one way, and he hated to do it, but they had to do it. And so they start off, and Layla's like, I really don't want to do this, but you're right, there's no other way. And this is, again, a thing where Moreci is like, she acts like there isn't a very simple option not to do. Like, it's very weird how much she doesn't realize the characters have other options. But what they do is they need to go up to Flynn's estate. Flynn, for those who don't remember, from the last book, was the supposedly good contestant, but really wasn't. He was toxic masculinity, and Jenna is like, he's supposed to be a golden boy, but he's a terrible person, basically. Also, again, inexplicably Asian. We meet him and his father, and they have like a ton of really high quality horses. And they're like, Layla, you know what? You're the savior. We can't provide you troops, but we can provide all your troops horses. And I'm like, that is not how cavalry works.
And we also have connections who could maybe provide you troops as well. We know people who could help you. And she's like, perfect, let's start brainstorming. And they're all like, no, let us handle that, let the experts. And she's like, I'm literally the queen. And when I tell you the like audacity of these people immediately out the gate, you're like, what is happening? And this hits a point because like you're like 15% into the book by this point, I believe, and like they've literally been on the run. They've had to kill people already to get to this point, and they get to the Flynn household, and Flynn's papa is showing them the rooms, and then Layla and Tobias are like, do you see that bed? You want to get jiggy in that bed? And I'm like, you guys are finally in a potential safe place, but you don't know. You can't trust these people. I don't trust these people. You don't trust these people. And your first thought is, what are we going to do in the bed? What do you mean? What are you going to do in the bed, bro?
Okay. So we've run into one of the major tonal whiplashes of this book, which is that for the first part of this book, there are two emotional arcs going on. One is they're in despair. Layla will talk about how difficult things are and how she feels like they're on their last legs. She doesn't know what to do. How are they going to pull through?
She's failing as a ruler.
Her people.
Identity crisis.
And then also, though, Jenna wanted them to have a bunch of sex scenes. And so they'll go back and forth between these two things.
In the romantic arc of this story, the two characters have said, I love you, I like you. They've done some kissing, and we're ready for the stage. They had their third act breakup. We're at the stage where they're in the life cycle of a romance. This would be funsies time. This would be them, where they do get to do the fun, sexy time stuff. But the arc of the narrative story of like the political side of things and like the reality of the situation does not match the romantic arc at all. So like the two things are trying to happen at the same time. And it's just like, what are we doing, bro? And it's not like they're having passionate, we might be dead tomorrow interactions.
No, it's not like that. It is like hee fun good times.
I'm going to learn stuff, and I really like how vulgar you can be. And like in the middle of a really shitty situation. And you, as the reader, are like, I don't want this. Why is this happening? I don't. Stop saying giggles so much.
Here's an example. So this is going to happen later in the book, but she has been teleporting back to the castle to talk with Delphi, her sister bro, there, and she finds out that Delphi has been hiding in the tunnel. So this is her kind of reaction. Layla turned from her sister, gripping the watchtower sill. God, I think I'm going to be sick. He held firm, didn't speak of a word of our alliance, and thus has earned Brontes' trust. This is Hylas who got tortured a little bit. Delphi's voice rang out behind her. You see, we're handling ourselves. We have no need to escape. Layla winced. No need for escape. While her sister wasted away underground and her allies endured torment, who knew how her servants were faring, how Pippa and Talos were handling the madness? A sob threatened to tear from her throat, but she swallowed it, gazing vacantly at the stars. This couldn't be her legacy. She wasn't her father, and she wouldn't stand idly as bodies piled around her. This is a low moment, right, where she's going to have to make a decision about how to get out. At the end, she's like, no, you're coming with me. We got to be firm about this.
Mass rescue.
Right, okay? Then, literally, okay, that's I'm going to show this on screen, so I don't know why I'm just showing it here. That's this part. We go like this, okay? Tobias tipped his head back and groaned. Holy shit. Layla was sucking his cock. A part of him couldn't believe it, would have called his own bluff had he not seen her naked in his lap, mouth wrapped around his length. He'd had plenty of fine mornings in his lifetime, but this one, by far, was the best. He gripped the sheets, heels digging into the mattress. Fuck, Layla. Something mischievous glimmered in her eyes. She seemed to enjoy his vulgarities, even though he couldn't control his voice, even if he tried. The magnitude of the moment wasn't lost on him. That the holy deity of Thesson was dragging her mouth up his shaft like it was covered in sugar.
When I tell you this happens throughout the book, where something, and then you're like, wow, deep, heavy implications. How are they going to deal with this? And then this happens, and you're like, am I in a different book, bro? Did I shadow walk into a different genre, my dude? It is, and it happens at this point when they're at the Joseon estate trying to figure out. And again, this whole time you're like, is Flynn gonna betray them? Are they not? And they also, like, there's so much tension between Layla, Flynn, Flynn's dad, and then the two of them are learning how to diddle each other. And because they also decide, Layla's like, I want to take it slow. And he's like, whatever you want, babe, I got you. And she's like, tee-hee-hee, let's start with a handy. And then, we'll work up our way. And it's basically that. Like, they're basically like that kind of like high school, like stage by stage progression of learning how to do shit. But in the middle of a high tense situation. And wouldn't you know it, Flynn does them a betrayal. The other thing I just have to prime here, Raphael and Tobias' sister Naomi don't get along. Naomi's like, fuck this guy. He's an asshole, and he like betrayed, and she's a real she's a real dick to someone who's obviously trying to help them. And that's a tension that's going on. But Flynn has also been like weird. Like, he won't acknowledge Tobias and the issues that have happened in the past, the ending of their friendship. Because like Tobias literally was like, he wins the Saviors tournament. And then he's like, but I forsake it. I'm not going to do it. I give it to Flynn. He loves Cosima. I don't. I love someone else, the actual Savior. And then Flynn tries to kill him because Brontes is like, you gotta kill him, blah, blah, blah. And it's this whole like betrayal moment. And Layla and Flynn have a conversation about it, like, you gotta deal with this. And he was like, yeah, it was a real, and you can tell he's butthurt. He was like, why did you let Tobias know who you are? And she's like, I didn't let him know. He fell in love with me thinking I was just the healer, and Cosima was he didn't find out until after everything at the culmination happened. Like, the buddy had no clue. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess. But you get the idea that Flynn ain't too happy about how things have shaken down. And there's a strategy meeting. And at the end of it, Flynn is like, I actually have something to show you that I think could be really helpful for your like war that you're doing. Let's go. And it's a map. And it's a map of that bears nothing on the rest of the plot at any point ever. It is a map of the Thesson castle that shows underground tunnels that lead elsewhere, which is how Brontes has been doing a bunch of his nefarious shit. And she's like, oh my God, why do you have this thing that shows the intricate dealings that I didn't even know about as queen of that fucking castle? And he's like, oh, I don't know, my aristocratic family has been so involved with the Thesson royal family, even though I'm Asian, and I don't know why I'm in the Mediterranean for hundreds of years as part of the aristocracy. And he just like kind of sweeps it under the rugs. And then she's like, wow, thanks. Can I see it? And he's like, no, 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 we'll pack it away for safekeeping. And then he's like, and I want to talk to you. And basically, Flynn tries to assault her. And it is so gross on so many levels because what Moreci wants us to know is Flynn's a bad guy. And there's only one language she knows to show that people are terrible. And we saw in all of Savior's Champion, it was literally something Will and I complained about. It's also in Savior's Sister. Assaulting women is how you denote that somebody is the worst of the worst. And so women's assault is not a thing that happens, organically or for the sake of it. Is a shorthand for this person is terrible.
Because Moreci is not interested on the impact of Layla of this happening, of this attempted assault. Layla will get over it within a couple of pages and never think about it again. She's not making a statement or a critique of patriarchy or the systems involved in this. No, it is just to show Flynn is terrible. And the thing is, it's also just, Flynn was a sexist person, but he was sexist in a different way than an assault way. He was more of like a benevolent, like, oh, you're a beautiful flower who can't do anything kind of way.
And you need to be like protected and you need a man. And you can be shitty. You can be a shitty, terrible person. Ending there. Like that can just be it.
In the scene, Layla suddenly forgets all of her fighting ability and that she can shadow walk, and it literally reads like a scene that Moreci just kind of it doesn't feel organic to the character or the world, because Layla kind of should actually be able to handle this and fight him off, and she doesn't even really kind of try. She just escapes, and it feels like you said, it's just, and not like you said, like I said, because I actually was the one who made the point to you about how actually that she only knows how to signpost men being bad by sexualized violence. But it's just, it's so gross, and it's such a thing that people have rightly criticized fantasy for in the past, that sexualized violence against women is used to create a grim, dark setting without actually exploring why those things are there. One of my favorite series, A Song of Ice and Fire, gets this rap, and I think sometimes it's true. But like, that is what Moreci is doing, and she does it to the main character.
Yes.
If this were a male author doing this, they would be crucified, and rightly so.
The other thing, and Will touched on this, but this book is so inconsistent about Layla's abilities, about her abilities as not only a fighter, but how her shadow walking works. There's literally a point where you're like, just poof away, my bitch. And eventually she does, but the difference between the moment when she does versus before that is super loosey-goosey. And the book tries to draw a parallel. There's this one point when he's literally wailing on her, where she pictures Brontes and she's frozen. That like childhood fear of him kicks in, something that is never explored again. It's not like if there's a man of a particular build that scares her, and it doesn't work in this moment. The book is going to try show that Flynn is like baby Brontes, and he will develop into that. It is so terrible because Flynn was not the same archetype. Like Brontes was always a like bloody knuckled brawler from the start, brute, and Flynn wasn't. And again, he was a different kind of shitty. And so the book just trying to conflate this and make it an issue, and it reads so hollow. The scene is so like the entire time you're like, bitch, I have seen you get out of way worse situations. Why are we being so crippled here? And part of the issue with this entire book is Layla, and Will touched on this earlier, is kind of like a damsel in distress and agency-less. Tobias makes a lot of the decisions. Like it's his decision to go to Joseon, and it's his decision to go into the market. A lot of the first 2/3 of the book is led by other people's ideas and not hers. And it's just crazy for someone who we're told, we don't see it a ton in the second book, but we're told has done all of this shit. She's killed people. She's machinated. She's politicized, politicked. Like all of this, like she blackmailed a senator into coming to her side and then like ended up winning him. Like there's all this stuff. And she is so toothless in the first 2/3 of the book that by the time in the last third, when the book decides that she's a badass again, it feels so unearned with everything we've seen up to that point.
She has the classic modern feminist character problem of like, feminism is when you fight good. It's not about if you move the plot or have agency within the plot. That's kind of the thing with Layla is, again, I think Moreci kind of defaults to Tobias doing things because she doesn't, again, I feel like Moreci doesn't really want Layla to be a badass for the most part. She kind of just wants her to be like soft girl, but she knows feminism is when women fight good. And so that's the thing that Layla has to do a bunch. But this scene is just, it's unnecessary. It's gross. It flattens even the vague patriarchal critique of the book. There's actually a point that's really funny where, or not really funny, but there's a point where somebody says like, "Oh, you're gonna go stay in a whorehouse or something like that," and Tobias thinks in his head, "Yeah, in this, and that's not really an issue. And people don't really have a problem with sex workers. That's mostly a thing like foreigners bring up." And it's like, yeah, this is a matriarchal society where your living saint is a woman. Why in the first two books were men so violently sexist and intersexualized violence? It doesn't make sense to a matriarchal world,
Yes.
and it doesn't fit with the rest of it.
Yeah, and especially in moments like that where like Thesson is actually quite progressive, didn't you know? And you're like, buddy, where? My guy, where? I can't fucking see it, bro. And so this scene, at the end of the scene, she poofs into Tobias's room and she's like, Flynn. And he's like, oh. And he goes into Flynn's room and he beats the shit out of Flynn. Flynn's papa comes home and is like, what the fuck are you doing to my son? And Raphael immediately is like, your son attacked the savior. He should be glad he's not dead. We're going to leave. Ciao, ciao, buddies. So they leave with nothing. Back into the woods, same situation as before, where they're now in the woods with zero plan, and they have to be like, man, what are we gonna do next? What's the next move here?
You forgot the best part though, which is that now Flynn will, later on we find out he goes over to Brontes' side. But now Tobias had kind of gouged out one of his eyes. So now, just like Brontes, he has an evil disability. Oh, do you see the parallels here between the two? Yeah. Again, like Maria said, it's treated like they're somehow this kind of a similar kind of character. Again, the parallels are drawn, and they're just not. It comes off like this assault is an excuse for Tobias to go like, "You touched my woman," or it's the classic fridging man pain thing of the woman suffers so that the man can feel a certain way about it.
Yep.
More so than, again, because you don't understand how fast Layla will get over this,
and it will never get mentioned again. It's not like 2/3 of the way through the book she has an interaction with a man and she like freaks out about this because it was a traumatic event.
Maybe it affects her and Tobias's intimacy next time.
Nope. There's literally nothing. Or she has dreams, like anything. When I tell you this book literally just had this scene to get Tobias beating the shit out of him, to get them out of there, and to give Flynn one eye, so now he's Brontes 2.0. It is insane. They go back into the woods. They're like, what do we do now? And they're like, okay, we have to find.
It's so stupid.
Is this the part? Yeah. So this is when she's like, this is it, right? This is like right before the brothel. Yes. Yeah. Apparently every couple of days she poofs back into the watchtower of the castle to talk to Delphi, and she poofs in and she discovers that Delphi isn't doing too hot and they need to get her staff out, and she's like, okay, we need to rescue them. And they're like, so they were like, Raphael's like, okay, what's the plan? Let's go to Trogolia, let's do this. And she's like, no, I know we are literally in the woods and have nothing, no plan, and there's nothing happening, but we need to pause the plot of the book to rescue my 40 servants in there. And they're like, what are we supposed to do with 40 servants? So then Tobias is like, I'll go into the nearest town and I'll look for an inn that we could store them in and keep them safe. And every time Tobias goes into town, he has to, and also it happened earlier where people recognized Raphael as the intellect from the tournament, and they were like, yeah, I saw you at the, and like, do you understand how big coliseums are? Do you know what they're not good at? Good for facial recognition. Are you telling me that people, like, they got artists to draw all of the competitors to such a realistic level that they were able, like, we're talking Renaissance paintings, that they then printed somehow and sent around to everybody in the universe of Thesson, that they're able to recognize Tobias and what's his face on site? This is a thing where people are worried about being recognized. So Tobias has to wear a cowl.
What's stupid about this is, like a lot of problems in the book, this actually could be fixed. Like, let's say that at the end of the tournament, Tobias got a massive facial scar. all of a sudden it's very easy to tell people to look for him in that way. Like, like there are ways to make it so that it is hard. There are ways to fix the plot holes in this book, but Moreci almost just doesn't seem aware of them. Like, that's the thing, is she comes off as though she's really dumb in this respect. Like, she just doesn't think of them.
I think you were right about the plotting thing and just being unaware of how these things play out to a reader and how they're going to look at them. This is just what needed to happen. So Tobias needs to be potentially recognizable to add tension. And so he goes into this town, he's looking around, he finds an inn finally, he's sitting there, and he's like, barkeep, give me, do you have rooms? And the barkeep's like, rooms are only for people who order food. And so he orders a drink, and then the barkeep keeps ignoring, like, this is an innkeeper. They're in an inn, and the innkeeper is like ignoring the shit out of him, even though he's taking care of drinks when, like, room and board would be the main purpose of this establishment. Anyway, and then a hot lady sidles up to Tobias and is like, oh, you want to come back to my place? I got some nice, and he was like, oh, 'tis a courtesan. I shall ignore her. And he's like, I'm promised. And she's like, oh, but your promised one isn't here. You want a little, and if you don't like women, I got guys. I got whatever you need. And then soldiers bust in, and they're like, we're looking for the artist, Tobias Kaya. Have you seen a brown-haired, dark-eyed man with tan Thessan skin? And they're like, buddy, that could be anyone in this town. Everybody looks like that. What are you talking about? And they're like, no, we're looking for the artist. And the innkeeper's like, get out of here. You're turning this into a military state.
The innkeeper goes full on libertarian mode, where he's like, this is private. I think he literally says private property or something like that. Like, and I'm like, really? Does Thessan have laws that are the same as the United States when it comes to lawful search and seizure? Like, what? Yeah, and he says like, oh, you're turning this into a military state. And I'm like, really? In a pre-modern setting, we're talking about a military state?
The innkeeper? The innkeeper's like, you're turning this into a military state? What college, like, not anthropology. I'm blanking on it, but I took a course that did. Anyway, like, what college classes are you taking, buddy? Tobias skedaddles out and goes into the back alley where the hot lady from before was waiting for him, because she was like, oh, if you want to see me, I'll be over there. And his cowl falls, and she's like, oh, you're the artist. And she's like, don't worry, I know that you and the savior are in love. I was there at culmination. Everybody was at culmination. This nation is pretty big. What do you mean you were at the culmination? Everybody just, anyway. She's like, I saw you guys. It was obvious to anyone that you were in love, and we know Brontes is a bastard. Come, I will help protect you. So she takes him, and he's like, I'm just looking for just a place to stay for me, the savior, and like three other people. And she was like, we'll help you. Don't you worry. And she takes him to her brothel that she's at. And this brothel is the tallest building in the city, and it's gorgeous. And the outside of it, this is how shitty the world building is, and the understanding of how things worked historically is. Okay, the brothel, big, beautiful. This is a podunk town. The inn wasn't even a big inn. This is a track. Yeah. It has a giant multi-story brothel. Like, I'm talking bougie ass place, indulgent, one would say. Opulence. On the outside of it, it's not, it's not called like the Pussy Willow, or like it doesn't have, because like a lot of brothels in historical times had like cheeky little names.
Or like a Japanese, like the sighing of the opening of the three flowers or something, like
anything like that had a little, no, it is a mosaic of a penis and a vagina. That's on the outside of the building. That's how you know it's a brothel, because Moreci's like, is the brothel penis vagina? What do you mean? You couldn't have picked the sighing cat? Like, nothing?
Her potty humor is as bad in this book as in the other ones. We're just complaining about it less. But like, she just genuinely seems to think anything having to do with penis or vagina is hilarious. And she's not clever about it. Courtesan takes him to their leader, which is a non-binary character called Issa. And the non-binary character is like, ooh, you can't stay here. Go away. And Tobias is like, but maybe we can if we give you money. And Issa's like, okay, three people can stay here, but no more surprises. And Tobias in his head is like,
I got surprises coming. And Issa's like, you have to work for your, you got to be useful. Stay out of my staff's way. My staff's the most important. And so then they bring the rest of the crew here you know, like the Naomi, Tobias's mom, who still doesn't like Layla, and it has continued to just be this thing. And the thing is, you could do something interesting. Like a
Mm-hmm.
more skilled writer could have written the Layla Yukana conflict way better.
The most affecting, almost working emotional scene in this book is between the two of them at the end, and it doesn't work because Moreci has not set it up properly, but the idea of the scene is actually quite emotionally fraught and interesting. It's
Yes.
just that she hasn't set it up correctly because she can't handle her security comfort characters being critical sized or imperfect
Yes.
anyway. But yeah, they're now at the brothel. They're having lots of the sex again.
And this isn't like a discreet brothel where people are like going into rooms and then coming out, and the corridors are put in a way that, you know,
It's
the
a
patrons
full-time orgy all the
all the
time.
time, like literally expensive orgy all the time. Bizarre. People are just be having sex all. There's an atrium like in the upper floors where you can look down and just see the people. It's crazy. And Layla poofs back in that scene Will read just a little bit ago. She poofs back in to visit Delphi. You know, things are bad. She's literally like, oh my God, my sister, everyone here is dying. And then she goes and there's that whole scene where she's giving our boy a blowjob, and you're like, what is happening? And then she ends up being like, okay, we have to bring them over. And Tobias is like, man, I feel bad that maybe I shouldn't have lied to Issa. And she's like, no, 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 you were right. At least we got the foot in the door. And here's my problem with this. They know Issa doesn't want any more people. So instead of, you know, continuing to look or going to the inn, renting actual rooms that they could put them in, they stop looking at all. They literally spend like 3 days just sexing it up and having a good time and relaxing instead of continuing to search for a place that would actually suit their needs, because they're literally just going to bring 40 people into a place they're not welcome. When Layla's finally ready to do this, she goes to Issa and she's like, I'm the savior and here's money. And because that was the thing, she was like, how am I going to get Issa to agree to have everyone in here? There's only.
Oh God, this is the
Yeah.
dumbest conflict. No, no, no. She feels real bad because she's like, there's only one way I can get Issa to agree, but can I do this to Tobias and his family? There's only one coin I can trade on. And I was like, oh, she's gonna sell her virginity? Because we're
Yeah.
and
That's
like
literally
I was
what
wondering if
I
that's what it
thought.
was.
That's literally what I thought. I was like, yo, are we entering a she has to sell her body to allow for everyone to stay here kind of? No. Remember the coin I mentioned earlier that Tobias's family won from him being in the tournament? She has to ask for most of it to pay Issa to let her servants stay here. Again, instead of just going to an inn. And also, these different people are from all different areas across the kingdom, one would assume. Could you not just take them, make a camp in the forest, and then just shadow walk them to different areas of the kingdom?
Yes, that is a fundamental problem here, is that there is, when you have the power of instant teleportation without mana or cooldown, where you are in the current moment is a suggestion because you could be anywhere else in the blink of an eye. There is no reason that they have to find this one spot to put them all in to be safe. The other thing that's really stupid about this money thing is it's really treated like real emotional stakes, where she's like, I can't ask this sacrifice of Tobias and his family. It's like, bitch, you're the ruler of Thesson and he's the king now. As soon as you get back into power, they have the whole treasury. What do you mean? It's not like you're asking them for something that you can't then just that they aren't going to get when you get into power anyway. It's a real weird conflict that doesn't make sense.
It absolutely doesn't. And of course, his mom and sister are like, yeah, take the money. Like, what else are we going to do? Those are innocent people. Like, let's do it. And Issa's like, no, you cannot bring 40 fucking people. I said you. And she's like, oh, well, I'm the queen and you have to do it. I'm leaving the money here. And Issa's like, the answer is still no. You're currently not anything. She's like, I'm your queen. And she's like, I'm not from Thesson, babes. I just run a very successful. I care about my staff more than I care about your fugitive ass. And you can't just bring more people. And the thing is, there's so many, again, they didn't need to bring 40 people here, at least not long term.
This is, again, another place where the argument that Moreci is having them have is not the real argument. The real argument is that you cannot hide 40 people appearing in a small town, much less in a single brothel. Like, What do you mean? People on the streets are gonna know. Are they gonna shut it down for all the patrons? How are you think none of your prostitutes or servants are gonna mention that there's 40 new people with posh accents just showing up? That should be Issa's argument, is not like, it should be, this is an impossible thing you are having done here. This makes no sense.
Like, what are you talking about? This is a town. This isn't the city. There's not like 8 brothels that they can split them up with, and Issa can call her other brothel head. Like,
this isn't New York.
What are we doing? And it's so dumb. She's like, I'm doing it. So she gets all of her people, and it's super easy. They poof in, and then Layla's like, where's Pippa? And Pippa is a character that we haven't mentioned at all so far because she was in the first and the second book. And Layla has 4 sisters: Delphi, Pippa, Cosima. I guess it's just 3. 3 sisters. Yeah, she has 3 sisters. She's the 4th. And Cosima's a bitch who betrayed her, and the book wants you to hate her. And the book is going to try retconning that something terrible happened to her, and she had no choice to deal with it because of power imbalance. And the book is going to be like, see, she was awful all along. Like, I almost imagined that people brought up to Moreci that what happened to Cosima was actually really shitty, and that she was painting a character who was abused really terribly. And then Moreci was like, don't worry, I'll bring her back for 2 scenes just so everybody knows she's actually a bitch.
I actually know for a fact that is what happened, because on her Discord, I was there when I saw Moreci talk about how the scene that we think is sexualized violence, and she doesn't. She's like talking about how people are misreading it, and it wasn't an assault. And actually, next week, me and Katie are going to be doing a public critique stream of the prose in this book, and I'm going to bring up that scene because I think it's worth looking at. It's a good example of Moreci's incompetence with language and lack of empathy or theory of mind of other people. But I know for a fact that Moreci says somebody brought it up to her.
Pippa's missing. Pippa is her. I don't know what she's supposed to be, but she's neurodivergent and like emotionally and mentally delayed as a character, similar age as all the other girls. But Pippa's missing, and Delphi's like, I hid it from you. Actually, for some reason, out of nowhere, Brontes, right after the culmination and you disappeared, he took Pippa and Talos. Talos is this character that I won't mention a ton right now. And he took them to his secret base where he hides people, and he has his secret mission stuff. And they've been gone ever since. But don't worry, Talos is taking care of Pippa, and she's fine. And our girl, Layla, is super pissed at Delphi for hiding this from her, even though Delphi's like, I don't even know where she is. You can't get her. I can't get her. I've been in the sewers in the pipes underneath looking, and I couldn't find her. So I don't know. Like, I didn't want to worry you. Also, during this, the prostitute, the courtesan Sabine, gives Tobias some Lerv lessons.
Sex vice.
Basically, when all of these people come, Issa's like, you need to leave now. They can, and basically they pay enough. Oh, there's this whole brawl that happens.
Oh, no. It's so much dumber than you're remembering. They hear that, oh no, Thessan soldiers are leaving, but that's because there are coverts around. What are coverts? I don't know. They're like bounty hunters, apparently. They're going to be going door to door, and they're going
to do searches.
Tobias is like, oh shit, I got to go take care of them now. She's going to go. He goes and grabs his weapon, and Raphael's like, you can't do this, Tobias. And Tobias is like, this is the only choice. Raphael, the smartest man, also called Raphael Tortuga, by the way, which is hilarious.
Hysterical.
Is like, okay, buddy, I guess you got to do it. And so Tobias goes out. Okay, here's his plan. He's going to go out and find a bunch of hidden bounty hunters in a large city.
And kill them.
Somehow, they all immediately zero in on him.
Before you even get there, I need to talk about why this is also a dumb idea. Like, I need the readers to know why this is so dumb. So they're in a 6-story brothel, right? With multiple rooms. The guy who gives them this information is like, the coverts are going to come and they're going to search places. So here's the thing. The coverts are either actually being covert and hiding their identity, in which case, why would they be searching random rooms on the 6th floor of the brothel? Or they will start openly searching rooms, in which case you can just shadow walk back and forth through different parts. Because, like, there's a couple of them. How many are going to be searching at the same time? You can't just wait, like, on the 6th floor, and then as they make their way up, bounce back to the 1st floor, and then as they come down, bounce back up to the 6th floor. Like, what do you mean? Just go into the woods for a couple of days. My God, like, they're planning to leave anyway. They're in the process of getting ready to leave because the 40 people are here and Issa is pissed. Like, that's what's happening, bro.
No, that is exactly it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to hunt them. And again, it's treated by the book like, okay, this is what he's got to do.
This is the only option.
And also bear in mind, Tobias doesn't know how to fight. It's been a month and a half since he was a laborer cutting sugarcane with a scythe. He like goes out and they find him and they follow him into the woods, and there's 7 of them. And he does some like ninja stuff to kill 1 or 2. Insane. Again, he is supposed to be a little bit stronger and faster than other people because of Layla's blessings, but like he's not a really good fighter. He fights off all of them but like 1, and then the last one gets killed by somebody who just showed up. And who is this person? It's
Enzo, who was from the first book. He was one of the brutish people, and he's a fighter from Kavar, which is like our Viking/Russia analog.
Enzo is the closest Moreci comes to writing a good character. And what I mean by that is that Enzo can be kind of funny, and he would be funnier if Moreci did less potty humor everywhere else, and he was the only one who kept talking about cocks. Like, it would be funnier that way. He also feels a little bit more off tempo with the other characters in a way that's a little bit fun. And like he is the closest the book comes to having a like or a dynamic character, because I wouldn't really say that I like him, but he does add more interest to it. And basically, if you guys remember, he got left out of the tournament at the last minute because his queen got him out or whatever. And he's been looking for Layla and killing a bunch of Thessian soldiers as they go. Oh, I should also mention, again, back before all of this happened, a patrol of Thessian soldiers somehow stumbled on Layla and Tobias in the middle of the woods because Naomi was screaming at one point. But like, bear in mind, they're in the woods. Do you understand how many hundreds of thousands of soldiers Brontes must be flooding the countryside with to find some random people in the woods?
And where it's not obvious that the soldiers are in the woods, because generally when people, like, it is insane, and it's going to get more insane when we get to the Trigolia bit, which we're so close to.
And in this part, the part before Enzo showed up that I was talking about in the woods, they really brutally kill these soldiers without a single thought. Again, how does she know these are bad soldiers? How does she know these people are bad? They have been told. How does she know these aren't just people from Thesson who are good people who signed up to be soldiers or whatever form of conscription they have? Because again, pre-modern society.
In a pre-modern society, this is a respectable, like, way to better yourself and improve your social standing and to make a living.
There's no reason to think these aren't good people who are loyal soldiers who have been told that she has been kidnapped. And they don't even try to make this argument to them. It's not like Layla's like, hey guys, hold on, I'm actually the savior, I'm okay. No, they just immediately butcher them without an ounce of mercy. And this is what's really creepy about Moreci, is that the way she writes how bloodthirsty Layla and Tobias are, she really doesn't seem to see characters, I don't want to say as people because characters aren't people, but like there's a lack of theory of mind that other people are more than just playthings in her main character's story. Like, and it comes off as genuinely sociopathic from the characters and kind of from the writer. It's real gross.
And also with Tobias's like fantastic sword fighting ability, like he's able at multiple points, he kills people with like some level of skill. And even I mentioned earlier, I read some Goodreads reviews to see how people who enjoyed the previous, and there was this one review that was like, you know, I enjoyed the other books, but like there was things that just weren't good. And one of them was, why is Tobias this good? He shouldn't be. And they specifically said, like, I get how he managed to make it through the competition with everything, but he isn't blessed right now. Like, he doesn't have shadow walking. He doesn't have any, like, he goes out without even, like, you're going out on a murder spree to try attack people who are hiding under cover from you, and you don't ask your magical girlfriend, who you are now, we didn't mention this, but they're engaged now, your magical fiance to bless you so you can shadow walk in case things get hairy. It's so annoying. And it's so, again, and like the grotesque levels of the violence and like on people that we don't actually know, like there's going to be this whole death competition tournament thing later that is just, it's the most egregious of it. And I can't wait to talk about it there. But yeah, Enzo pops up and he's like, oh, Tobias, I have been looking for you, friend. Let's I'm here.
He does talk like that.
I'm going to take you to Kavar, and the queen, my queen, shall help your queen, and let us go, my friend. Hoppa.
He also says easy peasy a lot in this book, which I
We do
hated.
this, easy peasy. Like, I
I'm
hate
like,
it.
are you from Brooklyn?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? So he's like, okay, I take you to my queen, and you two talk. And Layla's like, awesome. We can't. And so they're like, okay, we'll shadow walk Enzo because again, she can give her power to somebody else. So Enzo has been to some place that she hasn't been, so he can take them there. There's a weird conflict here where she's like, no, I need to get my staff settled here first. And it's like, well, why don't you just go to Kavar and then get your staff settled there? Why do we need to wait to do that, to do this first? But again, it's one of these weird problems where it's not really explained why they can't do it.
She can be in Kavar in 1 minute and then be back in the brothel setting everything up in the next. Why do we have to hold off going to Kavar because of your bullshit?
Yeah, it's, again, Moreci doesn't think about how shadow walking works. So one thing is that the conflict with Isa is solved by like, Isa's like, I don't want your people here, even for your money. And then Enzo's like, hey guys, I've been killing lots of soldiers here. I've been taking their money. You have it. And Isa's like, oh, for a lot of money, though, I will do this. And it's stupid because from a character perspective, the characters didn't have to overcome something. It just got fixed by Enzo showing up.
And it also got fixed by the solution they had before, which was money. It's not like Enzo was like, oh, I know good soldiers. They will, they will protect your, or do not worry, we take your people and we hide them in other brothels. Like, it's not like there's a creative solution. He's just like, oh, I have even more money than you had. And Issa's like, wow, that's so much money. All my problems.
Issa literally should be like, well, cool, but money matters nothing if I'm dead, and there's no way I can hide 40 fucking people in a brothel in a smallish to large town. It's so stupid. But again, and it's also the characters not have to really overcome anything. It just gets fixed for them.
So then they're getting ready to go to Kavar, and they've got all their stuff. Everybody's in the room, and she blesses Enzo, and she talks him through how to shadow walk. They don't trial run it like, hey, I want you to shadow walk from this room to that room. Let's just practice or anything. No, she just blesses him, tells him how it works. They're all standing in a circle. Everybody's holding hands. And she's like, okay, Enzo, picture your homeland. Picture a specific place and just zoot us there, buddy. And he's like, concentration, fart. And they're like, oh my God, it's not working. And he's like, let me try again. And it doesn't work. And for some reason, her blessing doesn't work on Enzo. And immediately I'm like, maybe it only works on Thessians. Like, has anybody even fucking thought about that? Or like it, or I don't know.
There's some kind of magical barrier around Kavar, maybe, or so. Anything. And basically, the answer she gives is that her magic is mysterious and she doesn't fully understand
because her mother was killed before she was able to teach her anything, and there's no books.
So the first thing is that this would work if up until this point her magic had been mysterious, and it isn't. Really, she can give it to Tobias. It works perfectly. It's not like he has to think about it particularly hard. The only thing is that sometimes when she's stressed, she has trouble with it. The way to fix a lot of the shadow magic, the shadow walking problems, is that it should be something where you can shadow walk more easily to places you've been a lot. So for example, and Layla never realized this in the first book because she's always lived in the castle, so she's always had the same amount. But like, it's hard to shadow walk to a place she hasn't been a lot. And Kavar is somewhere where that's fully far away from where she is, and Enzo hasn't been there for a while, so it's actually really hard for even him to go there or something like that, because that would put a limitation on why she doesn't just hop around everywhere all the time.
And also, maybe it's tiring, and after a big jump, it takes a minute for her magic to, like Will said, mana rules. Anything like that. Also, I'm gonna remind you of something that in the first book, she can see a hill outside of her, and Tobias is like, why didn't you just go there? And she's like, even though I can see it with my eyeballs, I've never been there myself, so I can't go. That's not how shadow walking works, baby. And you're like, okay. And then at the end of this book, it's going to be like, never mind. Don't worry about those rules. Those rules don't work. Those where and I'll describe when it happens, but I'm just leaving that here. They end up being like, oh man, we can't shadow walk. And then they were like, well, I guess we're gonna have to go the old-fashioned way, on foot through Trigolia. So remember earlier when I said, when everybody was like, no, we can't go to Trigolia. It's not we have to go to Josian instead and talk to Flynn. And they were like, that's the most they end up going to Tricolia anyway. So I'm like, why didn't you just go there in the first place? Like, if it was possible to go now, why wasn't it possible to go then? Because they're like, it's the only option. There's so many points where they're like, it's the only option. Only Soccer Blue to discover it wasn't the only option.
Here's the fellowship, or the Hansa, if you're a Witcher fan, that they join up. It is Layla, Tobias, Enzo. So far, making sense. Raphael, he's been around. They're now, at this point, they're not like, oh, you betrayed Layla that one time, we hate you. Even though, again, he was mostly just trying to survive. They're now like, okay, you're an okay guy, Raphael. And then you might think Delphi, right? Delphi is her best friend. She was a big part in the second book. She'll come along. She'd be cool. No, she stays for some reason in the brothel. Instead, Hylas comes with them. Who the fuck is Hylas, you ask? Yeah, that's that one guy who, like, in the second book turned on Brontes for her, even though she was gonna kill him, and then she didn't.
Yeah, she blackmailed him with his life, and then he ends up being like, you're actually the good one. I'm on your side now, babes.
And he's like, I can speak Kovarian, so I should come with you. And she's like, I can speak Kovarian.
Actually, he can't even speak it. He's like, I speak several languages. I don't speak Kavarian, but I could learn. And she's like, I can speak Kavarian. It's like, and then he's like, but also you're discounting all the time I spent at Brontes' side, learning from him. And who do you think was giving Delphi all that information she was feeding to you? And I'm sitting here going, did you hold stuff back, buddy? If you were telling Delphi everything you learned and she was telling Layla, then what's the point? But then Tobias is like, he's right. He did spend a lot of time with Brontes. And at no point does this ever come up as something useful. It's not like they're talking about something and he's like, wait, I remember Brontes talking about this. He's actually going to A, B, and C. Nope.
You know what I was remembering when I was rewatching a video? Remember Brontes' network?
The dumb network?
And it's never brought up in this book?
Nope.
It never is mentioned. It dominated so much the second book, his network and who they were. And that's why she could never move against him, because of his network. And it's like, there's actually no fucking network. It's just him. And the people that were very obviously him. But so before they leave the brothel, soldiers show up and there's a big bloody fight. Now you may be thinking, okay, soldiers showed up and they died there. So obviously more soldiers are going to show up and search the brothel later. And obviously they're going to notice 40 new people. No, never happens. Not a thing, never happens. Again, the physics in this world are Looney Tunes.
The logical reasoning and how things work make no sense. Because my immediate thing was the 40 people we put here can no longer stay here. Again, they shouldn't have all been staying there anyway. It's fucking dumb. They leave Yukana, Tobias's mom, and Naomi for obvious reasons. It's a mother and her crippled daughter. So like they're not going to come. Naomi's real butthurt about this, but she understands. Also, she says something as they're getting ready to leave. She calls Raphael the mouth, and he's like, God damn it, I've been nothing but nice to you and taking care of you. What do I need? And he like snaps at her, and she's like, oh, and immediately you're like, oh God, there's a dumb romance happening. Like, I mean, you knew this from before, but you're like, there's a dumb romance happening, and this is going to be there. And like throughout the rest of the journey, Raphael's going to be like, oh, God, when you're in love and she doesn't love you back, what do you do? And everybody's like, who's this girl, Raphael? Who are you in love with? And you're like, the only girl you've seen him interact with?
Tobias is like, back at your homeland, is there someone you love? And it's like, bitch, you know that's not the case. He never mentioned her before. Why would he be doing it now?
And it's someone who doesn't like him? I wonder if I've met a girl who makes that. Anyway, so they fuck off and they're gonna go to Trigolia. So they have to Enzo takes them and he's like, oh, we are going to cross the lake, the Atabi Lake. And they have to take a smuggler ship across.
Smuggler's Cove.
Yeah, they go to Smuggler's Cove, and they're taking a smuggler ship across the lake.
The way they happened is that Enzo's like, oh no, we're going to pretend to be slaves, and you and Raphael, you will be the slavers. And there is one funny part where Tobias is like, I could be a slave, and Enzo's like flexes and is like, no, I look like slave, you know. Yeah. Again, this is how Enzo can kind of be funny sometimes because his humor is different than other people's. So every once in a while, he can be kind of funny. The slavers immediately are just like British Pirates of the Caribbean style. And they're immediately like, oh, Cox, ooh, I like your slave. I'm going to fuck her.
And also like, oh, you are new smugglers. Oh, don't worry. We'll tell you the when you go there, this is what you need to, oh, you babies, you're not ready.
And this is the part, because it's going to keep coming up throughout their travels with these pirates. They're going to keep going like, oh, I want to fuck this person or that person, or like, oh, that slave in there, she's very hot, I would like to fuck her. I don't know why I made them French, but yeah. I respect the choice. This is the part where I was like, Moreci, you're choosing to write this. Like, there's, again, a thing that fantasy has rightly been criticized for of, like, you are choosing to write these sexist characters, you don't have to write them this way. And she didn't have to. She didn't have to make these men be so sexually violent and gross. Like,
But
this is a
also
choice you are making.
nice and welcoming to Tobias and Raphael. They're like, come, da da da. Like, immediately they hand these dumbass guys bags of leaves, dried leaves. And Tobias is like, is this our rations? And he's like, I guess this is it. I guess this is what smugglers survive off of. Dried fucking leaves. And he's like, if this is my only sustenance, I better start eating. And
that's so fucking stupid.
He starts fucking, and immediately, as the reader, you're like, those are drugs. Those are drug leaves. Those are like either caffeine leaves,
marijuana, yeah, some cocaine,
something akin. And they're talking, and the guys are like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll tell you the right brothels to go to. They'll do whatever you want." You know what they remind me of? They remind me if you're watching like an old timey, like if you're watching a show set in a medieval setting and there's a acrobatic / tumbling performance happening in the background. Yeah. These smugglers are like the tumblers, like an acrobatic tumbling performance of smugglers. Like, that's the vibe. Like, they're saying this stuff, but they're also like, let's dance, and like all this funny, like, that guy's missing his. It's so fucking dumb and weird. And then this is the part where Layla's under in the bowels of the ship. She's trapped. It smells like shit. There's other people. They're like wasting away. She's like, man, who knows how long we're going to be underneath here.
She's been under the threat of sexualized violence by all of these people. It is well understood that she is going to be sold into sexual slavery. And then she is like, well, hold on a second, because I actually do have.
Yes. But anyway, while Will finds that quote, I'm going to describe. So it takes them two days to cross this lake. Now, I have to describe this lake is like a very, very long, skinny bean lake, okay? And they're crossing it this way, okay? They're going across this way, right? This way. I need you to hang in here with me. This way.
The short way.
The short way. Over 2 days, nearly 3 days, over 48 hours to cross the lake. And the problem is, there's a later point where they're going to travel the majority of the way from like here up to like here, and it takes them 2 days. Okay, how long is this lake? Also, you're telling me the short way across the lake was 2 days? I have been to Uganda. I went on a little excursion on Lake Victoria, which is fucking massive, and you can cross that bad boy in 12 hours. The biggest lake on planet Earth takes by ferry, which is not a fast way to travel. Okay, so let's say maybe it's a little bit faster than on a ship. It takes 17 to 20 hours to cross that bad boy, the largest one we have. Meanwhile, it takes them 2 days to go. So this is the lake. They cross it like this in 2 days. But then at a later point, they go from like here to all the way up here on foot in 2 days.
This isn't the 90s. You can do a Google search to see if, you can just do a Google search to see how long it would take. Like, I have a lot less sympathy for authors nowadays in that respect. But okay, here we go. Layla bristled. 2 or 3 days in a dank cell, the air ripe with filth, was a miserable prospect to consider, let alone endure. Layla swallowed an irritated growl, leaning against the wall in a huff. The atmosphere had turned especially hot and sticky, and she wasn't sure if it was due to her raging nerves or their humid conditions. The nearby slaves fidgeted in places, their faces slick with sweat and clothes clinging to their skin. Two whispered in a language she never heard, while others spoke her native tongue, and one said nothing at all, resigned to his thoughts. Her heart sagged. "We can't save them," she said. "Take them with us." Enzo was quiet for a long while before responding. "If you want to save your realm, and my realm, and other realms, no." Layla clamped down on her lip, unsure whether to cry or scream or heave. Her stomach's contents onto the floor. Oh. Okay. The reason I paused there, by the way, is because her is capitalized, and so I thought that those were separate sentences. It's a really annoying thing in the book, and it will never stop being annoying.
It's so annoying. And I did that so many times while reading, where there would be a capitalized thing in the middle, and suddenly you think you have a new sentence. Continue.
Instead, she dug her fingernails into the meat of her palms, channeling her fury into the stinging pain as her feeling of powerlessness grew even more profound. Focus. It wasn't the time for weakness. She was a queen, after all. Hyla stood rigid, glassy eyes pointed at nothing in particular. Layla pressed a hand to his shoulder. "Are you all right?" "What?" He jumped as if stirred away. Yes, I'm fine. She could hope for strength and composure all she liked, but this was leg of their journey was rotten to the core. Layla sighed. Her thoughts were a muddled mess, but before she could spiral, she caught sight of Hylas out of the corner of her eye. Hylas's chestnut gaze was large, unblinking, and fixed on Enzo. His sinewy strength, the hard planes of his chest, the squareness of his jaw. She'd never seen the senator so frozen, even in trance, and she questioned if the sweat on his brow had anything to do with the humidity at all. Self-reproach still nipped at her, threatening to overtake her mind. No, she couldn't lose her resolve, and if that meant a slight shift in focus to distract her thoughts, she'd take it. I've just realized I haven't properly introduced you two. How foolish of me. She tugged Enzo from the wall and slapped him on the back. Hylas, this is Enzo. He was a competitor in my tournament. A very strong and brave competitor, as a matter of fact. He was one of the beasts. Did you know that?
And as I said, she's literally like, oh, let me do real life smut fantasies and not smut fantasies / fantasies.
Fuchsia clouds. Fuchsia, by the way, being the turned on color she can see. Fuchsia clouds billowed through the air, potent enough to taste. Perfect. She nestled up beside Hylas and wrapped a firm arm around him. And Enzo, this is Hylas, the kindest member of my palace staff. A senator, no less. You must absolutely play him here the double fruits. And have you seen those eyes? So dark and hypnotizing, as if they carry a lifetime of wisdom in a single gaze. Aren't they positively enchanting? Enzo stood hard and expressionless, but his colors betrayed him, wafting from his flesh like pink steam. They're very nice. Layla spun to Hylas. Did you hear that? He liked your eyes. Isn't his accent charming? Pleased with herself, she patted both of them on the cheek. Well then, I must be going. Where, Hylas said, we're in a cell. Yes, I know, but there's much to be done, and the two of you must get acquainted. You'll be spending quite a bit of time together in the coming days, and I'm sure you have plenty to discuss. You have so much in common, after all. Hylas's eyes grew wide. But talk amongst yourselves. That's in order. She abandoned them, a proud smile on her lips as she marched off through the limited space. Romance was a worthy distraction, and she certainly needed one during their hellish voyage. So, this is what we mean by when we say that there's such emotional whiplash in this book. It's either she's a sociopath and doesn't understand how characters have emotions, or more generously, it's that she has an outline and she's going to stick to that outline regardless of how it feels in the moment. And this is not the first time their gay romance will be like Gilayla's at the lowest point as she is in the book, and then she's like, oh, but they were cute together.
You know, let me disassociate from the realities of my world with my /fic that I'm writing myself. It's so weird. And again, you heard she was literally going to heave the realities of her situation, the dankness of this. And then she was like, but you know, and also, can I say, terrible matchmaker? Like, what an inorganic way. Like, did you hear? He said you have nice, like, I would be like, bitch, get the fuck out of my face. What are you doing? It's so gross. I hate it. Back at the top of the ship, our boy Tobias, the smugglers are like, wow, you're really putting away the Kavita leaves or Katava, whatever they are. There's a name for these leaves. And Raphael's like, oh shit, and he literally like smacks it out of Tobias's hand, who has just been again, this man who we're supposed to be told is a relatively smart individual, not the dumbest boy in school, is handed a bag of dried leaves, okay? And he just starts eating them like, guess these are rations for horses. Nay, bitch, I'm a horse. And just starts eating.
Oh my god, that's funny.
And the guys are like, wow, you must really have a great tolerance. That's a lot. I've had like 2. And Tobias is like, what do you mean? So then Raphael takes him and he's like, we're going to go pee over there. And he's like, buddy, they're drugs. We both just ate a lot of drugs. And I'm like, Raphael, at 2? What do you mean?
The intellect?
The intellect? And he knows of this drug. He heard the name and immediately. And again, why this guy wouldn't be like smugglers, illicit activity, dried leaves. This sounds like something I know. Nope, he's just like, no, nay, I'm a horse, I guess.
And what proceeds to happen is a hilarious scene where the two of them are high and paranoid and saying stuff to each other. And this would be a funny scene if it was at any of the less serious parts of the book. Like, again, they are on a slave ship with a bunch of people who have threatened sexual violence against Layla, and they're just like having hilarity fun times, being high.
And the other 3 are starving underneath.
Oh god, it's such a weird whiplash.
And you think to yourself, are they going to get so high that they pass out? and the smugglers are going to try something with nope, nothing. There's no consequences of this. It is just a ha ha he he hoo 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 scene. That's it. That's it. Nay, I'm a horse. That's it. That is the entire point of this scene. I hate it. While they're on the ship getting high, the guys were like, oh man, because the Tobias and Raphael are like, yeah, we're smugglers and we're going to Tigrolia because the borders are better. We normally go through Ethwa, but you know those borders, the border patrol, because all those Thessian soldiers. And the guys are like, sucks to suck, buddy. The Brontes is sending all of his soldiers into Trigolia. Somebody told him that the savior went that way, and she's across the ocean right now. So it's going to be filled with Thessian soldiers. Okay, stay with me here. Thessin is a nation. Okay, it is its own little nation. Trigolia is a completely separate nation with its own king, its own army, its own everything. Brontes finds out, and we'll figure out how shortly, that Layla is heading to Trigolia, and he sends enough forces to completely take over as far as being a standing army force in Trigolia, that everywhere they go, there are Thessan soldiers. They get to the dock and to the entry point, Thessian soldiers. All over, Thessian soldiers. How big is this fucking army, and why is a allied state letting your army come in? Because if I was the king, I would say, I would be like, this sounds like an excuse for you to get your boots on my ground and then take over.
You're also hurting the legitimacy of my rule by showing my people that actually your guys can just stomp all around. I can't handle my own business. What the fuck is Brontes doing trying? Why does he want to conquer the allied realms if he already has this level of power over them? It's bizarre.
He can just send enough people, like so many in there that they can barely do anything. They get to Trigolia and they're like, oh my god, all of these soldiers. And they have to like create a distraction, get around, and then they're like, oh my god, back in the woods. And then the smugglers are like, ha ha ha, we figured out she was the savior. She was kind of glowy. And then they have to kill the smugglers. So the smugglers, once the smugglers are dead, they're the only people that could possibly know that they are who they said they are. They end up hiding at an inn, and they're like, oh man, we can't get anywhere. We have to share. It's just such a shitty situation. What are we gonna do? Oh man, they're everywhere. We can't even move an inch because they're out here looking for us, and we can't travel at night for some reason.
There's also a thing where they keep getting stuck and being like in a very closed environment at night, and they complain about living too close together. Also, one of them has to sneak out to get supplies. You can shadow walk, go back to the brothel, get supplies, come back. It's literally about 30 seconds. Also, stay there at night. Super simple. Or if you don't want to stay there, stay in the woods, in the Krios woods that they were in originally. Like, really, you walking through Trigolia is just a bookmark to go to next time you want to start doing that again.
And the thing is, Issa doesn't even know they have to be back in the brothel. They can just pop into the room that they were staying in and be like, hey, Naomi, we're just going to crash here. They don't have to be where they are. And then there's a point where they're like, okay, we're going to try kind of escape again. And there's a festival that's coming in a couple of days, and we're going to use that festival, the masked festival at night, to try get farther north to deal with this. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Just, I don't know. Just start walking. Like, there's no woods. Like, all of Trigolia is habitated. You can't just get to the woods or the uninhabitable parts and just travel like hobbits going across Middle Earth. Like, what are we doing? They're everywhere, really? There's this big festival, and it's like a festival of debauchery.
Yeah, it's very Venice Masks kind of thing. And I will say, this is the one time the book actually feels kind of vivid, because Moreci bothers to describe sights and sounds and smells. We haven't mentioned it, but the prose in general are really lacking. That was one of the biggest problems of the first book, is you could not figure out where it was. Maria thought it was Renaissance kind of stuff, and like I only knew it was Greeky because that's what it's said to be. We actually, in general, have not been shitting on Jenna's prose enough. They're real bad. I think I'm just going to go into this more in the critique stream with Katie. But basically, Moreci has this habit of choosing. So, like, at one point, they're having sexy times, and he's like, and Layla's fingers trekked down his spine. And you're like, trekked? What? And then she'll do a thing where she goes like, he walked through the sand, crunch of it, a silent scream. Or
the sand crunched under his steps, a silent scream. And I'm like, what the does he hear a silent scream, like a scream elsewhere, or is the sand screaming silently? Is what the fuck? What it was just it was so bad, and this is one of the only ones because I mainly just focused on like plot, character.
She does this constantly. She will have a description of something happening, it's concrete, and then an abstract, but it's, or you sometimes set off by a comment, but not. But it's like these two things, they make you sound really pretentious. Again, a silent scream. It's fucking sand, my man. Calm down. It's one of the ways that she's just a really bad prose writer. It is the ultimate irony that her rise to fame, or relative fame, came from giving writing advice.
It's so bad.
They're in Tricolia. There's like this festival. They again murder another Thessian soldier, and eventually they find that the border to Trigolia is well and truly shut. They can't get through. They're not going to be able to do it.
Basically, they get to another town. They still can't shake everything, and they're at a different inn. And they're like, "Man, we can't shake this." And they're like, "There's no other choice." Tobias is like, so earlier, I have to explain something. In one of the earlier flashbacks or flash forward scenes where it's Tobias getting his shit rocked in Brontis's secret dungeon, he sees Pippa, and at this point, we know Pippa's missing from the main plot. And so I thought that Layla, because Layla's devastated that Pippa's missing, and I thought that, maybe their plan was, let's find Pippa and let's find Brontis's secret dungeon, and then we can attack there and attack Brontis there. He will not be expecting it. We'll have the element of surprise. We can take him out. And so I thought, because again, Tobias has been captured. He's in Brontis's dungeon. He finds Pippa. So I think, oh, this was on purpose. Tobias got himself captured so he could find Pippa, find Brontis's secret dungeon, and he secretly has, because one of the things we learn is when she gives you her blessing, you can have it for a while before you can't use it anymore. And I was like, oh, awesome. He's gonna like poof them out of, that's the whole point of no. I thought this was a thing. Nope. Instead, what it is Tobias is like, we have no option. We're hemmed in on all sides, and you need to get to Kavar because Enzo was like, my queen will help you. It's beneficial for you, beneficial for her, very beneficial for everyone. Much helping. And they're like, you need to go get your army, and we can't do that if you can't get there. So I need to. And immediately, before he even says anything, I said, why don't you just go back to Thesson? He thinks you're in Trigolia, which means Thesson is going to be way less monitored and guarded, and nobody's going to be looking for you there. You have two options. You can either go to Thesson and be like, hi, I'm here. Look, it's me. I'm right here. And like literally go to a town and be like, pizzazz, magic.
Sparkle
and then,
in a way that is like, oh, this is undeniably her. It's not just a rumor.
And then Brontis will be like, oh shit, she's back in Thesson. And then just poof back to Trigolia, wait for the Thesson troops to be taken out of Trigolia, and then just do that. Or you can reach Kavar through Thesson. So just, Trigolia is a dead end. Just poof your asses back to the brothel and just head north from there, on foot, hoof it from there and enter through the that side, because let them think the savior's in Trigolia and searching there, and you guys can just whoopsie doopsie your way. You have a place, you can get back to so many points. So easy. You can get everyone out of danger, or even just Tobias and Layla, and then Raphael and Enzo can continue north, and everybody meet. Like, there's so many things, but no, our boy Tobias is like, I must shadow walk back to Thesson, back to the Krios Woods by the Ethuia border, and people will think you're there because I'm your closest ally, and then he'll capture me, and he'll interrogate me, and she's like, he's gonna fucking kill you, and he's like, no, because he'll want your location, so he'll just torture me for your location, and I won't give it, and then you'll get your army, and you'll come rescue me. Why? If you can go, so can she, and then you can both poof back. This isn't a one-time thing. Go in there, be like, hi, I'm the artist, I'm Tobias Kai, and then poof back to Trigolia. What do you mean you're just gonna sit there?
She could literally get captured and then shadow walk away if it was her. The book will go to such lengths to act like this is the only option. Like Raphael has this talk with her where they're trying to come up with another strategy and they can't come up with anything.
She's like, no, I refuse. I won't.
And they're like, there's no other option. This is the only choice. This is the only thing. And this is how, by the way, you know that a lot of the dumb shit in this book is not the characters being dumb. It's Moreci not knowing that she's being dumb. Like, this is a moment where if there were other choices, those would be presented, and they're not. And I don't, it makes no sense. It makes no sense as the thing to do here. Like, again, this is the emotional crux of the book, is she and Tobias have to make this sacrifice for him to be tortured really brutally, but also still end up being sassy. I hated that part, but we won't talk about it too much. It's so easily solved. Like, it's not even the most efficient way of doing this. It's a bad plan.
And it's not like he gets a one-time shadow walk. He's shadow walked multiple times. He's shadow walked someplace and then back before. What do you mean he can't do it now? And again, why didn't all of you just shadow walk and then secretly, covertly go to Kavar, like, up like, it just, when I tell you, this makes me fucking livid, because they have this sad sack scene and then they have sex because, like, he's like, let's get married, and she's like, no, I don't want to marry you out of sadness. You hold on to that, and when we reunited, we'll get married then. And he's like, okay, babes. And then she's like, but let's do it. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do it just because of this. And she's like, no, I want to do it, and I need you while you're getting tortured to remember something good, to keep you living, babes. And he's like, okay. And again, it isn't what would have potentially worked.
Yes. No, this should be like a desperate, sad connection between these two people in this moment
that we shouldn't get a lot of description of. It should be quick, bittersweet, fade to black.
This is the part of the book that should be hurrying up, because we don't really care about them having sex here. We care about, theoretically, the stakes of the situation, of like this moment in time. You know, you don't have a 20-minute sex scene in the middle of the dark night of the soul. Like, it's so weird that that's here.
And what happened right before the dark night of, like, before the sex scene, is she comes to the realization that this is the choice that has to be made, and she's like, damn it. And then it pops back to Tobias in the cell getting tortured, and I thought, oh, are we just going to continue like this now? Like, and now we're just going to be with Tobias, and the tension will be, is Layla going to come or not? And then stuff's going to happen on his end. Because I was like, I don't need to see, like, him leaving. I don't need to see, like, there's a lot of stuff you don't need to see. And then Will had the point, because I made that point, like, do we just go to Tobias? And then he made the point that actually it would work better if Layla comes to the decision that Tobias is going to go, and then it's just, we have the cutaway to Tobias getting tortured, and then we just pop back to...
I gotta be honest, having thought of it more, I like your idea more, because there's more mystery for the reader. We know Tobias isn't gonna die in Layla's plotline, so from Tobias's, it's like, but is she gonna get here? How is she gonna get here? What happened? That's actually really interesting stakes and could make you identify with the character.
And I thought there would be something more with Pippa, like, and bonding with Pippa, or Talos, like, because Talos is this guy who is the warden of
he's the master torturer who's been torturing Tobias, but is secretly on Layla's side.
Like, he trained Layla in fighting and stuff like that.
There's a hilarious part where Brontes is like, cut off his dick, and he goes to cut it off, and he's like, but he would die from blood loss. And Brontes is like, damn it. The thing is, like, I'm pretty sure people have been castrated and lived before, so I think there's a way to do this.
You can just cauterize it right after.
I think you can also just tie. Yeah,
there's a lot of ways to do. Anyway, it's really dumb. But so I thought we were just, because, like, we cut, it's Layla being like, this is what has to be done, and then it just cuts to Tobias, and I was like, oh, awesome, this is what we're gonna be. And the mystery is going to be, does Layla get here in time? Where is Tobias when that happens? And now, short, snappy, let's get to the end. No. We pop back, they do the sex scene thing, then he has to leave and say goodbye, and then he has to poof back to get captured, and then we have to watch, instead of just ending up with her in the snow in Kavar and doing that, they have to find a plan, find a guide to take them through the rapids and take them into the dangerous pass into Kavar, and then, like, the guide dies, they make it through.
No. The cool, okay. The blacksmith lady who was sharpening a scythe by hitting it with a hammer by the way. A plus, Jenna. She takes them across the rapids as the guide, but she sees Layla sparkle at one point and faints and falls and dies in the rapids. It's like the most random thing in the, again, Moreci's real odd. But the thing is, we don't care about this. This is a logistical complication. It is not an emotional complication. And at this point, we have hit that point where we are like, the car is speeding up. Let's go. Why are we hitting another speed bump to what we want to read?
And travel is notoriously one of the hardest things to write compellingly because it's really fucking boring.
It's Moreci either holding on to her original outline or just not realizing that the reader is going, that this is what the reader wants from it. Again, it's really odd. It's like her I don't understand this one, especially. I don't understand how it stayed in. You cut it and you lose nothing. You just start with Layla trudging through the snow if you want to keep the Layla parts, and she's just like, and then we made it over the rapids.
There's so much shit that could be cut. Like technically, you could cut out the brothel scene entirely.
No, I mean, yes,
it doesn't affect the overall arc of the book at all. Like her servants didn't have to get rescued. Like when I tell you so, there's so many things like that are just incidental. Even the night of the masquerade in Trigolia also has no lasting consequences. It's not like they end up getting someplace and then getting there's a bunch of things that just happen in order that are so inconsequential to the larger plot that it's insane.
So there's this common thing where like they talk about how in fighting scenes, the best fighting scenes are the ones that tell a story. They have emotional stakes. They're not just about kick punch, right? And the same is true for, these adventure, the problems you run across in a travel story, right? They can't just be a logistical problem. They need to be an emotional one that either makes the characters grow or changes things, or there's stakes involved that are emotional and personal. And so little of this book has that because the characters don't have an arc. So it's not like they can learn things all along the way in each of these places. It's just like one thing happened and then another. And then Tobias snuggled Layla and said how great she was. We haven't talked about that, but that's like every other scene.
It happens so much.
Layla, you're great. And she's like, I have low self-esteem. And he's like, but my cock is hard for you. I think actually maybe a real thing that was said.
And then she's like, I've never been comfortable before laying in your arms. And he's like, oh, me too, babe. I've never been comfortable until you were laying in my arm. Like when I tell you there were, again, the problem is the point in the like romantic storyline of them and what's happening in the rest of the narrative does not line up at all. It is very annoying. So the bitch is finally in Kavar with her group. They get there, they go to the Kavarian queen, and the Kavarian queen is like, Enzo, what the fuck are you doing here? What did you bring? And you're like, oh no, what is this? Turns out Enzo was actually banished. Layla accidentally let the Kavarian queen previously know that Enzo lied to her about something. He basically discovered her identity and kept it a secret, not just from everybody else, but also the queen. She thought, because the queen guessed her identity, and she thought Enzo told her, so she said that, and the queen then knew, oh wow, Enzo knew this and didn't tell me. So he was one of her personal guards, and so she banishes Enzo out of her service, and he's like, oh, to gain my honor back, I must bring them. But the queen's still pissed. What did you bring to my doorstep? Layla goes, like, queen to queen, babes, I need your army. I need you to, because the queen's like, yeah, you can stay here. You can bring your servants. I do not mind. You are welcome in my keep. And then Layla's like, I need your army. We need to go. And he's not going to stop until he conquers. And the Queen of Kavar is like, okay, well, when he comes, I'll deal with it. Why am I going to go start a fight for no reason?
We are warrior people. We will kill him when he comes here. And Layla's like, no, he's got a lot of men. And she's like, we will kill many men then.
Yeah, like, what are you, like, that's war, babes. Layla's like, oh, fuck, we got so close. And then there's this, like, there's this challenge. And it's this thing where, like, the queen is like, my challenge shall be in a few days. Who's going to enter? And Enzo's like, I'm entering. And everybody's like, what is this? And then there's this random Kavarian guy who doesn't know how to answer questions, who basically tells Layla that it's this thing that happens where people who want to get honor and the favor of the queen enter. There's 10 challengers, up to 10 challengers who enter this, and they're all unarmed in the woods. And then 10 of the worst, most heinous criminal warriors of Kavar are released with weapons into the woods, and you have to kill all the bad, like the prisoners, and then you win, and you have to bring the queen pieces of them to show their fingers to show that you defeated all of them. And the idea is that, like, one person is coming out of this.
Yeah, a lot of the challengers don't make it back. It's about honor, and if the prisoners win, they just go back to being prisoners.
Prisoners, yeah, they don't get freedom or anything. They're just here for like shits and gigs, and then they go back to prison.
Okay, so this is reason this is an incredibly moronic idea. Number one, you know what you want as a queen? Your most loyal and skilled members to go die. Wouldn't that be really cool if all of your really skilled and loyal people die?
That's what I think all the time.
It's so weird as a thing that you're supposed to do to show devotion. It really should be the other way around. Like if you're in deep shit with the queen, this is the way to get back into her. Like theoretically Enzo is doing it the correct way in that she's done with him at this point, or like a way to not be in exile. But it's culturally it makes no sense. It's a very proud warrior race, but in a way that's dumb.
And it happens once every 2 weeks.
No, I think it happens less.
No, it's once every 2 weeks because she makes her do it quicker because they're like, yeah, it's normally every 2 weeks. And she's like, no, it's going to be anyway. So Enzo enters this thing. He comes out. He's just fine. He kills everyone. He goes to the queen, throws down the fingies, and is like, I'd like to be back in your personal guard, and I'd like you to forgive me. And she's like, yeah, babes, you did it. You won the thing. You get whatever you ask for. And Layla was like, just like that? And she did it. And he's like, yes, I won the tournament. I won her favor. She has honor. She will honor. And Layla's like, Bing pot, I figured it out. This is how, because she's like, my love, he has been captured. Also, the other thing I have to let you know, that there's this whole scene where she brings her servants from the brothel into the Kavarian palace, and Yukana and Naomi are like, where's Tobias? We'd like to see him. And like nobody told them that, because like everybody in Thesson knows that Tobias has been captured, and Delphi and everyone in the brothel just hid it from them. And so Layla has to be like, so Tobias sacrificed himself so I can get here, and also I still don't have an army, and she's like, they hate me. And Yukana's like, you fucking bitch. You lost me my son. You destroyed him. And da-da-da. And Naomi's like, wait, I need to talk about this more. Anyway, Enzo does the thing. And our girl's like, I've lost everything. I need to get my love back. I need to get my... and she's like, identity crisis. And she's like, I must enter the tournament, the challenge. And so she goes to the queen and she goes, when's your next challenge? And the queen's like, in 2 weeks. And she's like, no. What's the soonest you could do it? And the queen's like, I could maybe, get it together in 3 days. And she's like, do that. And the queen's like, okay, I'm listening to you. And she's like, yeah, you will. Because if you do this, you'll be the queen of queens, babe. The queen of queens. Because I'm entering. I accept your challenge. I'm doing it. And the queen's like, okay, bet. So they do this whole thing. Layla enters herself in. Everybody's like, why the fuck would you do that? That is dumb as fuck. And then she's like crying that night into her pillow, sad and pathetic because of everything. And Yukana, who like this whole time has hated her, but now she's like, all right, babe. I heard you crying. And you know what? I've been a bitch. And I've thought about it, and I've been stubborn. And she tells this whole story about Tobias's father being stubborn before finally like realizing who he is. And she's like, I've been stubborn. If Tobias loves you, then that's all I need to know. And the thing is, this scene could have worked better if it happened after she won like the champion thing, and like she comes back bruised, battered, and Yukana sees how hard she fought and how much she put herself at risk to save her son and the kingdom. Because Yukana's like, you're a curse on this land. Bitch, no, she isn't. She's the fucking savior. She's the opposite. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, it's this whole scene where Yukana's like, I know you don't have anyone, but you don't have to cry alone. I've got you, my daughter. And Layla's like, I don't have a mother.
It's almost an interesting scene, but the problem is that this is Moreci trying to write a complicated relationship. And so up until this, like, Yukana has just been very like, and Layla has been very like, oh no. Like, the groundwork has not been set for this to be an interesting thing. Because like at one point, she's like, Layla, I know you can't forgive me. And I'm like, I don't think she needs to forgive you for anything. I thought I don't understand why this is a forgiveness situation. It's again the thing where Moreci thinks anyone who like vaguely is against her characters is bad and forgot to write in the part where they actually do a bad thing. Layla, she's like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. Tobias is being tortured. I'm about to die. She goes and she sees that Hylas and Enzo are having sex. And she's like, hee, that's so cute. I made them have sex together. Again, tonal whiplash.
And she's like, you have to tell me everything.
Yes, she says
To
that literally. She
Hylas.
says, you have to tell me everything.
And Hylas is like, no.
Bitch, I don't know you.
Like, what are we doing? You're my political leader and, like, the ruler of Thesson, but we ain't that close, honey. It's bizarre. And here's the big problem with what's about to happen, which is her entering this dumb tournament. So while this is happening, Tobias is getting super tortured. Like, he's not doing great. Like, he's beginning to die. We're at that stage. And so, like, we know that's happening. Layla's doing this. And she's about to enter the climax of the book, which is her taking down baddies, and by baddies I mean prisoners who are fighting because they're being forced to.
Will Jenna take an opportunity to even more mildly conceive that maybe, you know, these people aren't deserving of really brutal and callous deaths? No.
Oh, there are some terrible ones, and like it's real bad. But this is the climax of the book, okay? And the problem is, a good climax should be something that has been building up to the majority. So, for instance, if this was the climax was her busting Tobias out of the prison, that's a climax that we've been building up to. We've known it's happening. We understood what was said. Like we're building towards something. That's not the climax of the book. The climax of the book is this mini death competition where she's like, wow, it's almost like the, you know, like, and it's just really dumb because it's something we've been introduced to 2 pages ago. Okay. And now she's going to enter and do this whole battle-y thing, a thing we've barely seen her do. And again, she's been so toothless this whole book that you're like, she's going to get her ass handed to. She should absolutely get her ass handed to her. This like, it just, no question, right?
There's never any parallels drawn with the fact that she was the person at one point overseeing a death competition and now she is participating in one. There could be parallels there. I don't know what, because the book is so thematically barren. But like, it's not even really mentioned or thought of at all. The other thing that Maria is saying is the climax also needs to be an emotional one. So it needs to be like a culmination of their character arc up until this point. And we get that here by Layla going dark Layla. She, you know, she's in the woods and she's like, I don't know how I'm going to win. Immediately, all of the prisoners split up, which is such a dumb decision on their part. She got lucky. She can shadow walk, but for some reason, she doesn't really use it to effectively kill people, even though it's like, they don't know you can really do this. You should just immediately kill them all very quickly. And then at one point, there's this massive giant of a man. She sword fights with him, but then can't. I don't know. Her power level is very low. She is like, oh no, I'm a warrior queen now. I am the thing that, you know, my father always said I was dark, and now I am the darkness. Layla means dark in whatever language. She doesn't say that, but we're supposed to remember that from the first book. And the thing is, that was not Layla's conflict this whole time. Layla's conflict this whole time was not that she didn't want to go dark mode.
Not at all. She had been going dark mode most of her life when she was killing all of those senators and people, you know?
Yeah,
there's literally a point where she's like, she can't remember how many men she's killed. And I'm like, okay.
That's a lot.
There's also this thing where he would call her like my little darkness or my dark one. That's what Brontes called her when she was a little child. And she's like, I'm coming into my own. I'm taking it on. I'm doing it. And it's just so, this whole thing is so dumb. She's brutalizing these
death row inmates who are forced to participate endlessly in a violent game.
And she wins. She gets all the fingies. And she goes to the queen. She throws it down and she's like, you're going to give me your army and we're going to go to Thesson. And the queen's like, all right, babes. That's all you had to do. Sash say, we're in. Let's go. And then she's like, first we have to find Tobias. He's held in Brontes' secret hideout. We don't know where it is. And the queen's like, oh, I know where it is. What? Yeah, my spies. You know I had spies in Thesson, right? And again, please note, one of her spies was Enzo in the tournament, so there is nothing to make me think that the Kavarian Queen's spies were so good or effective. If I needed a spy to look at what was happening in Thesson during the tournament, I would not have put one in the tournament where they're secluded from anything. It's real dumb. So she's like, yeah, I know where it is. And then we cut to Tobias and he's like, his arm's been broke. There was this whole scene, I forgot. So there was this point where Brontes really wants to kind of break Tobias and win the people over. So he takes Tobias out into like a town and he's like, look at the artist. He's held we've got him and he won't tell us where the savior is and he's held your lady captive. You must show him what justice looks like in Thesson. And they hand out literally like a school picnic, you know, They hand out rocks to all of the people in the crowd, and they're like, stone him. And then the crowd starts throwing rocks at the soldiers and not at Tobias. Tobias also doesn't get friendly fire.
Again, the problem is that this is so stupid. Why did she have to go to another country to get their army to invade her own country?
When her people are like, nah, I'm not buying it.
Without any input from her already.
And so Brontes comes back and he like beats the shit out of Tobias because his plan of the stoning didn't work the way he wanted. But also, you didn't want to kill him. I would not like if you think there's going to be an angry mob that if you get stones to, they're going to throw it all at one person, but you don't want him to die because you want the information he has. This is a surefire way to get someone killed. Are you like, Brontes, do you have like 2 brain cells or just like one that you wave around in hopes of catching some, like, what's happening here, buddy? Brontes comes and he like breaks Tobias's arm and like really fucks him up, and he's also ripped out some of Tobias's teeth, all of his fingernails and toenails. And then like Talos comes and he like gives him some stuff and he's like, go to sleep, she's, or I'll wake you up when you have to. And then he comes and Talos is like, it's time, you got to get out of here, I've cleared a path for you, you got to go. And Tobias is like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, shall I take Pippa? And he's like, no, leave Pippa here, she'll be fine. What the fuck? Why?
So insane.
Why aren't we taking Pippa? Pippa's been fed. She's not injured. If Tobias can walk out of here, so can Pippa. Anyway, no, we're leaving Pippa. And Tobias has to hobble his way out. And then Talos somehow gets on the other side, like, because somebody's attacking Tobias. And then suddenly Talos is behind them. And he's like, run, go. And Tobias goes and he's outside and he's hobbling and he's barely going. And then a horse with a shining rider upon it comes over the hill with a thundering behind him and a bunch of horses. And it's Layla. And she goes to him and she grabs him and she shadow walks him away. And she's like, I'm here, my love. And he's like, darling, I'm here too. And that's how the book ends.
Yeah. All of that so that next book, the actual plot can begin.
You know what this reminds me of? Season 2 of House of the Dragon, where like season 1, they were like, and now the war's starting. This is it. It's gonna start for realsies. And then season 2, everybody's like, it's gonna start. The war is gonna start. And then at the end of season 2, they're like, no, now it's gonna start for realsies, where they're actually gonna go to war.
This time we'll budget the CGI first before doing the rest of the season and realizing we ran out of money for dragons by the end. So, okay, when you were saying before, it's really true. There's nothing in this book that really needs to be there. One of the things that I noticed reading this is that you don't need to read the second book. The second book is completely pointless. Like, you kind of forget what happened with Raphael and why they don't like him, but that's it. Delphi isn't in this book, like, at all. So it's like even her characterization is not important. Layla's attendants are barely in this book. They make a really brief cameo. One thing I will say is that Layla has 2 less toxically male characters. Raphael is treated just like a character. He's not like a man character in the way that her other man characters are.
Well, but that's because he's a romantic interest for someone else. If you are a good guy, you're a romantic interest. That's it. There are bad men and there are men that are romantic interests. There is not one male character who is just a good guy, who, except for maybe Landon in the brothel.
Well, but he's gay, so that doesn't count. So
yes, that's true.
Gays are excluded from this. The thing is that, like, I'd said we were going to read a lot of quotes, but we ended up not. Although I think the few that we did pick were quite
elucidating.
And again, me and Katie, I think, are going to do.
Oh, I found this soft sand thing. The double doors appeared ahead, and he pushed them open, the sun's rays blasting over him. Sand crunched beneath his sandals, a soft scream as he made his way down the road.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? What does that mean? I've never heard sand beneath my shoes and thought, you know what? That kind of sounds like screaming, soft screaming. That's exactly what that sounds like. It's like she's trying to, and Will described it really well, where it's a concrete action with an abstract second part of the description, and the abstract part makes no sense in relation to the concrete part. Honestly, it's baffling to me that this exists.
And that no one fixed it. So much of it is so bad.
There's also one earlier, too.
A battle cry washing over Tobias like calming waters. What the fuck? That makes no sense. Calming waters don't crash. And it's a battle cry, which is not.
Not calming. What the fuck? That's so bad. That's so bad.
There's so many of these in here.
At first, she spoke hesitantly, each word a drop, sputtering from a spigot.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
The problem with this is sputtering. It makes it sound like she should have a stutter, like she's stopping and starting, and like there's a weird cadence to it. But what she's just trying to say is that there's not a lot of words happening. She's hesitant. She's not like, it's just such, and then it follows it up. But eventually Brontes' plan to assassinate her in the war that would ensue poured forth in a torrent. And like, that makes sense, but like the sputtering from a spigot,
it's real weird. That's not what it sounds like. The room felt quiet, though it was stilted. The room or the quiet? And how can a quiet be stilted?
and also, how can a room be stilted?
There's so many of these. I mean, I'm scrolling by all the sex ones that I won't read right now. That innkeeper, by the way, did say private property, which is a hilarious thing for a faux medieval setting to say. Oh, she eyed the tall red doors, each wooden slat a stream of blood, and her mouth went dry.
What?
It's like somebody told Moreci, just go as purple as you can with the prose, and she's like, I got this, but it made even less sense.
So here's one where connotation is completely getting thrown out the window. No, you were right. I had to leave, and I'm so thankful you're here. She turned towards him, giving him ample view of her fiery yellow eyes and glowing white skin. Ample is such a weird word to use here. Like, and it's because the connotation is ample view of something you shouldn't be seeing, like something that is normally hidden, like her skirt gave him ample view of her curves. You know, like there's a connotation to words and how they're used. And just for her eyes, like basically what that sentence is, she turned to look at him and he saw her eyes. Why did we write it that way? Why would we write it that way?
And again, the only time people really use ample to mean she showed him ample something is boobs. Like that's the known phrase for that, so the connotation doesn't match. Or this one, fire blossomed in Tobias's chest, fire metaphor, but he rooted himself to the ground, festering in the flames. You can't fester in flames. Festering is not a flame thing. Festering is a sick thing. Festering is a gross green thing. You can't, those two connotations don't match. And she does this constantly.
There was a point earlier where she used a word and it didn't mean what she thought it did. Like she was looking for a synonym, and she was looking in a thesaurus, and then she was like, yeah, I'm gonna use that one, but the meaning isn't perfect. Like it might be like similar, but the connotation is wrong.
Yeah, she does this all the time. It's real weird. Her muddled thoughts blustered a rainstorm. Like it's just, that's hard to picture.
It means nothing. It's word salad.
Okay, but here to wrap up the prose, I want to leave you guys with something that I think proves.
You're gonna do it, are you? You're gonna do it. Yeah, you are.
I want you to know that this was so interesting to me that I got the opinion from many of my female friends asking if this was real, and they asked many of their female friends if this is a real thing. And all of them said, what the fuck are you talking about? His mouth was proficient. He's going down on her. Even godly. And she found an even greater appreciation for his large, pillowy lips. What? What? How? The mechanics of this.
So Will messaged me and he goes, have you ever noticed a man's lips being like the way they look and like the feature of them being important in that action? And I went, nope, not once, not ever. I knew guys with no lips and with like pillowy lips, and that's not what made the difference in that. It neither helped nor harmed.
I asked a bunch of my female friends and they asked their friends and none of them knew what the fuck they were talking about. It's like that scene in the 40-year-old version where he's like, I love grabbing boobs. It feels like a bag of sand. It's like that.
That's exactly what it is. Honestly, I made the comment. I was like, yo, is Moreci getting it? Like, is this happening? Right?
It's so weird. It literally, a lot of the times when she writes about sex, it feels like a space alien writing about sex.
Or a 13-year-old. Like a 13-year-old writing about sex who hasn't done it, who's working off what they have off the internet and what they're imagining.
Okay, all right. Final thoughts on this. This is a mess. This is so bad. I really think Moreci did not want to write this. I think she stopped listening to any feedback, and this just matches her personality. She's incredibly bad at taking feedback. Moreci is kind of a narcissist. It shows through in the ways she's okay with doing horrible things to characters who aren't immediately on her side. It shows in how she doesn't know what the readers are thinking. It shows through in how Tobias does a massive, massive amount of emotional labor for Layla, reassuring her constantly.
Layla having no agency for no reason.
This is a really bad book. And again, it's really fascinating to go back to the first book that, like, kind of worked. Again, it wasn't good, but it was like, it kind of worked. And this kind of doesn't work at all.
There was an element, and I said this when we read The Savior's Sister, there was an element of fun to that book. You know, where it wasn't good, but it was like, it was being like campy, good time where if you were there to turn your brain off and not think about like the cart accidents of it all and the labyrinth not being a labyrinth and all of those things that Will and I spent way too much time laughing and nitpicking in our first book. Like, if you're willing to, there was a way to have fun with that. And that's just not here. It's not here at all. Again, it's just, we went from the woods to the Joseon house, and then we went to the Joseon house, back to the woods, then to the brothel, then to Trigolia, and then Trigolia to Kavar. Like, and it's just a series of like things that are all connected, but so much of which could be removed. And it's so painful, honestly. It was not fun. And because we had to read it with our eyeballs and I couldn't, like, you know, do chores or things at the same time, it honestly, it felt like such a monumental waste of like, it's not going to be this. Yeah, it felt like a waste of time. It will be worth it in the response that this gets. But let me tell you, in the process of reading it, I was like, oh, Will, you better be glad I love you.
The other reason to have this video is that I think there needs to be a record for people who don't. A lot of people felt very disenfranchised by not liking the first book and then found our channel and were like, okay, I'm not crazy. But there needs to be a record for when people look up this book that it's not just fawning reviews from fans. You know, our first video on this book to this day ranks very well in Google searches, and I'm quite proud of that. I'm quite proud that when somebody looks up The Savior's Champion, they will see our video and know that it is shit.
We're there.
Yeah. And this is worse. Yeah, my brain's a little scattered. This was a long one, though actually it didn't go as long as I thought it was going to. The book is just bad. It's real bad. I hope it takes her another 5-6 years to come out with the next one, because I don't want to do this anytime soon.
No.
I just don't. She's going to be doing a romantic comedy book that might be fun to look at, because that seems like much more within her wheelhouse of possibility.
Honestly, that's what when Will told me, I was like, that's what she should be doing. That I think she can, you know, like a Ice Planet Barbarian, you know? Say that's in that lane.
Smaller. She needs a smaller cast so her narcissism and dislike of people who aren't her main characters doesn't show through. She needs there to be no killing.
I mean, that niche, you know, like that, where it's like, I want to write my space boyfriend and do my thing, and then other people who like that thing can read it, and there's not all this other stuff that complicates it.
Yeah, and trying to write real, like, adult thoughts and actions and themes
in a fantasy setting.
If you got through all of that, hit the like button, subscribe, join the Patreon.
Join the Patreon.
If you join the book club, me and Katie will be doing a critique stream, maybe of the sex scenes in the book. Support independent journalism. You can get Discord access for pretty cheap. And God, I hope we don't see the next book for many years.
I was very angry. I thought this was going to be the third and final book. I thought this was going to be it and done. And I was really angry when I was reading. And then I realized, nope, there's a fourth book. All
right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.